T'inquiète, t'inquiète.
Mec, tu regardes jamais les matchs, ça se voit. Hein.
Faut regarder Barça, ils sont chauds le Barça. Surtout le prodige, des exploits, Yamal. Il est chaud.
Le prodige, je crois que c'est...
Bah pour son âge, ouais. C'est un prodige pour son âge.
Il a quel âge
Il a 17.
Machallah.
Toi, à 17 ans, il joue avec des grands joueurs, c'est une dinguerie ça.
Putain, moi je l'aurais disséqué ça. Je l'aurais fauché.
Yeah, they wrap all the way into Storm. A big wrap there as well, right? There was a couple teams even in Storm ahead of them, but it doesn't matter.
4000 s'annonce.
Long enough to get into a great position where now they're on dead side, right? So now they have.
Attends, moi je veux juste faire un truc là, ça.
D'accord.
See them do that exactly here. You know, overhaul those teams, maybe slightly ahead of them, a couple steps, but because the zone's opening up.
En fait, tu sais, je dois écrire un mail à quelqu'un.
And in that game, actually, the game from groups where once they get into zone there, they build up for height, win the game, and we've seen that story before. But the bit before that for Queasy's trio has just been so perfect and the culmination of all the things that worked this season.
La dernière fois, ils ont dû live Fortnite sur la finale des 3 games, pourquoi ils ont pas live?
Ben ouais, ça ils abusent, ça je suis d'accord avec toi. Tu vois, là c'est bien. Là c'est bien.
Bon, la dernière fois, je me suis fait ici, la dernière fois, il y avait rien comme pauvre, il y avait aucune pauvre.
In the Fortnite Global Championship in September, because as we've already discussed, Malibu for Ping and Wox and Vico Venue and Flixie, they already booked their spots back in Major Number 1. So, Levin, let's see who's in your top 5 to make it.
Yes, I feel like I've gone maybe a bit predictable here, right? I think I look at, you know, some of the teams you already highlighted. We obviously mentioned Queasy already, we mentioned Cammy, Thomas, Dimash.
En vrai, ça va être validé et Ryan, ils peuvent faire quelque chose, hein.
Qui
Validé Rayson et Moussavet, ils peuvent faire quelque chose, hein. Tu sais, Vadil, il est tellement sous-côté, Vadil, il est trop fort, Vadil. Il est tellement sous-côté. C'est une dinguerie.
Be in that sort of top 5, then it sort of moves down into top 7. Is Vanya's trio a trio that should be getting top 7 in this lobby? Absolutely, all day long. So my list here is, I think, a bit of a safe list.
Ouais.
I think that Mini Miner's list is probably not going to be that much different, so let's see it. Mini, explain yourself. That number 5.
Yeah, it's funny because
we want car. We want car.
We literally had 4 of the same picks. The only difference is
moi je pense, je vois bien Murtat win, Murtat, soit le trio à Drop, Sky, Scroll.
Mais Mistach il est avec qui maintenant lui?
Qui est
Mistach.
Il joue avec Squeezie et Queasy.
Squeezie.
Ouais, Queasy, ouais.
Ça c'est des Français, non?
Non. Ah, il y a... Oh, demain, je pense, je sais pas, demain je pense pas que je joue à 13h demain.
Pourquoi?
Je vais regarder les NA ce soir, ça va être une dinguerie avec Peterbot.
Je sais pas.
Moi ça va être une dinguerie ce soir. T'as vu Asian Jeff, il va arrêter Fortnite, t'as vu?
Qui?
Asian Jeff.
Asian Jeff, ah ouais?
Ouais, il était bon, hein. Il a dit, vu qu'il perfait pas trop, tu vois, il a préféré arrêter.
Mais tu sais, lui, à Skip, il faisait que d'Arenet.
Il a dit, je vais aller chercher dans les McDo, tout ça, je vais trouver du boulot là-bas.
Le mec, il est trop con, ce gars. Mais tu sais, lui, il est hardcore.
Ouais, s'il arrête la compétition, il devrait continuer le jeu, il fait des streams, tout ça, il devrait continuer. Hein. Ouais, il est chaud en plus, Asian Jeff, ouais, il est chaud.
Après là, ça, il rend niquer un peu sa carrière hein, s'il arrête.
Bon, ça dans une minute, c'est carré ça.
Oui, bon, encore.
Tu lances quand le live?
Je sais pas ça.
Ah, tu peux pas regarder.
Non, voilà, je vais regarder, je dois faire un truc.
Et c'est à quelle heure ce soir tu m'as dit c'est...
Mais laquelle
La dernière. Minuit, 1h? 1h?
Minuit. Mais moi, en fait, ok, j'aurais fait. Tu vois, en fait, moi, j'aurais fait. Mais tu sais, si on s'en se passe mal, on arrête.
Minuit 3h. Putain, je vais voir en fonction de la NA, ce soir ça dépend.
Random to me. Where's this coming from?
Ils jouent en quoi?
I'm
Ils
a
jouent en central,
storyteller,
je crois, non?
and the script I'm writing is that Pink's trio is
Oui,
the
mon
last to
gars.
qualify.
Oui,
for the-
Non, je pense pas, vu qu'il y a
I
la,
think they're going to be
que la
there.
NA,
I
je pense
need them to
pas.
be there. I want them to be
pense
there.
pas,
This
mais-
major.
But yeah, I mean,
J'ai envie de regarder en vrai,
Pink's
avec Peterbot, tu vois ce que ça va
Good
donner.
support. Thanks that crying.
Peterbot.
I would love it if
Ouais, il y a
Pink
des
made
bons
it
joueurs en NA,
see
hein.
on either of your lists that your
Lux,
best mates with
Peterbot,
them, so-
Canada, il y a des bons joueurs. Hein.
But you know,
Cooper.
let's get to the game. You're putting
Moi.
pressure right now. I'm actually
Alright,
lost
well,
words now.
do you know what? I want the verdict from the commentators because I trust their opinion more than anyone. So, Taco and Takata, let's get game one.
C'est mon gars, il hésite à aller jouer en NA, tu sais.
Mon Graal.
Ouais.
Le mec, ce gars, il est gênant. Moi, je l'aime plus. ça.
Pourquoi?
Je sais pas, il est bizarre. Il perd même plus rien du tout. frère, C'est un paysan. Je sais pas.
Moi, je pense qu'il peut revenir. Hein. Faut laisser encore un peu de temps, il va revenir.
Moi, je pense pas.
Faudrait qu'il perf en solo, et s'il perf en solo, après il va trouver un bon trio et ça va découper. Hein.
Incredible kind of off-spawn action that is gonna will start off right in game number 1. And the good news is
Bon, allez, ça commence, let's go.
So let's start off the EU FNCS Major Finals.
Regarde du côté des FR, vu que tu n'arrives pas, regarde Solaris, tu peux.
Sur quoi?
Regarde Solaris, tu peux regarder Solaris, ça donne quoi les FR? Moi je peux pas les regarder, ils sont en Eurostream, je peux pas regarder. Parce qu'il y a du délai avec Fortnite, tu peux avoir les pauvres, tu peux regarder.
Oui, encore. Oui,
look things over, see where they might be able to work out some of the issues that they've encountered. But what I'm really expecting,
Attends.
Takata,
Juste
is
fais le
for that
truc là-bas.
section of
T'as envoyé le mail,
offense,
c'est bon?
somebody's gotta figure something out, and
Mais non.
because
Attends.
there is a lot
T'as
of
reçu ton père en fin de
crazy
compte? Non, tu l'as pas reçu?
Exactly, that's what we got our eyes
Les
on.
pères, mais c'est des grosses salopes. Je vais les contacter. Je vais les contacter.
Snowy Mountain down at the southwest.
Mec, c'est abusé, hein.
Meadows as
Ouais.
well, potentially contested.
Est-ce que toi, t'aurais
And,
fait quoi à ta
Mini Miner was
place,
talking
à ma
about
place?
Magic Mosses, how
Mais je sais même pas, en fait, peut-être j'ai reçu, hein. En tout cas, hier.
The only black market to offer
rien.
Bah c'est bizarre que ça prend du temps comme ça. Ah, il y a Chap qui est mort.
a good amount of heals
Chap,
to play
j'ai
T'as dit
tombé.
c'est bien. Ma gueule.
Non, je dis c'est pas normal.
That's also going to force
Ah.
other
Il y a
teams
Chap
to kind
Tenny
of
qui sont
poke
tombés.
their head over, possibly much earlier than what Gripe's team would definitely want to be dealing
T'entends
with.
la vidéo que je regarde?
Non.
Sangil, Jewel, and Tidy, they'll have to figure
Bah
out
si
what
c'est pas,
happens.
essaye de les contacter pour voir s'ils peuvent pas faire quelque chose pour toi.
Things are
Là, je regarde Solari, là.
Parce que ça c'est... Vu que c'est une très grosse cup,
Bah,
en plus
normal.
c'est pas mal de paires, ouais. C'est bien des abords, tu vois.
Waiting for an
Ouais.
opportunity to strike because these teams are going to have to focus on their surge damage. A little bit of trouble brewing here. Possibly at Outlaw.
Rayom qui a récupéré un kill. Il se passe quoi, c'est Solari? Il y a quelque chose?
They're all just trying to keep tabs
Non.
on some of their neighbors in the area.
Ooh.
But what's this? Vico, Veno, Flixie. This is not Mass Meadows.
Nico, c'est nos petits penseurs qui mettent la pression. Je vais peut-être récupérer
Attends,
un
mais c'est
kill.
sur Twitch, on est bien d'accord.
Ah ouais.
Ils sont,
Regarde Fortnite, il y a du fight là, Veno, Vico, Flexi.
Now look at
Ah
Sur
ouais?
Janis, ouais, sur
the
Janis.
rest of his team.
Fortnite.
This is
Nice.
not
Janis, il est mort.
what they could have possibly
Ils ont une
expected
spawn.
here in Yanis.
Ils ont gagné le spawn.
Oh, il est
Added
chaud,
to the
Vico.
count 3 quick eliminations.
Bien joué.
Paris.
You want to talk about surge? Vico, Veno, Flixie, they just manifested it
Ah, ils ont
so
4 kills.
quickly.
C'est bien, il y a encore un duo.
Talk about surprises. They already got 4 elims on the board.
Ouais.
Taco 11 was talking about it. He said, I was speaking with BloodX. I was speaking with Venom. All I'm
Il a
saying
projeté en sneaky. Regarde sa cachette. T'as vu sa cachette ou pas?
that is exactly what we
Non, j'ai pas
Ah,
vu.
ça pue, wesh.
Fennec
Il est entre le toit, wesh.
can to stay up here, but
Wesh.
I'm thinking
Regarde que c'est écrit regarder pour gagner des drops. Oh, moi je vais me connecter. Gars, tu gagnes des drops si tu regardes.
Je sais.
Attends, je dois me connecter à quoi? À Twitch?
Bah ton compte, tu as connecté ton compte à Twitch.
Vas-y. Toi, tu t'es connecté?
Bah en vrai, moi ça m'intéresse pas, il y a récompense tout ça.
Bah non, mais y'a pas les autres trucs à gagner.
Bah si, il y a des récompenses, c'est des récompenses. En vrai, ça doit pas être grand chose, hein, moi ça m'intéresse pas. Ils ont déjà 16 points, je sais pas, le kill c'est combien de points? Ça doit être 3 ou 4 points le kill. Hein. Putain, je vais aller voir c'est combien de points de kill. Ça doit être énorme le point de kill. 3 points au moins, wesh.
It almost is a little bit reminiscent of another player in this lobby's type of strategy. So Raz and Venom may have just cooked up something incredible.
Qui sont tombés.
Early game success though.
Ah, c'est 4 points de kill, hein, c'est énorme. C'est tellement beaucoup. 4 points de kill.
Vox, Malabuka, Ping, they're kind of just waiting, gauging whether or not someone's actually going to try and challenge them. It doesn't seem to be the case though.
Bon, ça
Qu'est-ce qu'on peut 4 points de kill.
Ouais, 4 points de kill, ouais.
Ouais, je comme ils se mettent bien. Oh.
Après, c'est des bons heures, tu vois. Normal, c'est des bons heures.
Putain, je me plains les poches.
Mais c'est énorme, 4 points de kill, wesh, c'est énorme. Tu une team, t'as 16 points, wesh, c'est une dinguerie ça.
Tu une team, t'as dit?
16 points. 12 points. C'est pas mal d'ailleurs.
Très très bien. Très bien.
Là, regarde les vélos, ils avaient 4 kills, ils avaient déjà 16 points. Wesh.
Oh.
Juste avec 4 kills. Ça veut dire, si on doit pas sur le height au moins 10 kills, wesh, ma clé, ils sont tellement bien, wesh. C'est relié, on va mettre ça storm. Tu fais top 1 10 kills, et Maïdo, tu fais top 1 10 kills, mais wesh. C'est bien, wesh.
Top 1 10 kills. Ah ouais, attends, 10 fois 4, fait 40 points. Là, c'est impossible qu'un gars il fait ça.
Bah si c'est possible, hein, sur le height t'as au moins... Là ils ont au moins 9-10 kills au moins.
Ouais.
Fully understanding the kind of advantages that can be provided from those high viewing perspectives, and Mix and Comeback Blaha though don't seem to have had much luck.
Mais t'es avec un lobby comme ça, les...
Putain, juré, je compte tout le long.
Tu peux pas camper parce que tu vas mettre la storm, tu vas être mal sinon. Let's fight, wesh.
This is going to be an
Nice
interesting
push.
one. A lot of people have high hopes for this trio. They've been performing incredibly well throughout the season.
Ça veut dire, il y a 6 games aujourd'hui et 6 games demain.
You know, they have a very good shot.
Ouais, je crois.
Ça ouais, ça doit être ça, ouais.
Here in the major finals. But to do so, you got to make it to the late game, and for that, you're going to have to get enough damage.
Gonna call a spade here, though, Takada. These teams are just interested in...
Et la finale de la solo, alors c'est quoi la finale de la solo? Elle est passée?
Je crois que c'est la semaine prochaine. Hein. Ouais. Oh, c'est avant la...
Ah, c'est en même temps que la Cup Play là?
Ouais, avant la Play là.
Bah c'est en même temps, il y a marqué 19h, les deux.
Ah bah alors
That's what's going to set them up in the best position possible once they actually start making their way out of flooded frogs. But
moi je vais les jouer, mais je sais pas si je vais là parce que j'ai avec la PS4 c'est chaud. Hein. Oh, Chétine qui va peut-être mourir.
Ouais, ça va être chaud.
Exactly what Artist Dexy and Huddy are looking for. Cheatin' currently on the escape route, but he's just being trailed too quickly. Huddy,
parce que la dernière fois c'était 300 points, 300 points t'étais quoi?
Wesh.
3 nice, ça récupère le kill sur Chétine.
That's 2 in total for Artist's team. Still hoping if they can find the last piece of Cheatin's team. But whether or not they get that final elimination, Takada, the damage has already been done. They got the damage that they needed.
That they did. It's interesting though, because they were originally contesting Kappa Kappa, but they ended up just fighting.
La qualité elle est belle hein pour chez Fortnite.
Ouais. Tu fais quoi demain? Tu imagines les structures qui te recrutent, t'arrêtes l'école?
Non, quand même. Bah ça dépend combien ils payent.
Bah c'est au moins 1500 comment s'ils payent.
two teams kind of
Oh,
duking it
oh,
out.
là, moi, je
Solitude
peux pas
and
vivre.
Hellfire just trying to make sure that he keeps tabs on his walls. Ivan still trying to apply a decent amount of
Pourquoi tu
pressure
peux pas
here,
vivre
but
5, c'est
no
beaucoup,
luck
non?
so far. Doesn't wanna get
Oui, en France, mais pas ici,
Bah,
là
je
où
sais pas,
j'habite.
tu payeras encore. Tu payeras, non?
Ouais, encore, ouais, non, je peux
Ah,
rien.
bah ça va. Tous les mois. Parce qu'en général, si tu prends un contrat, c'est au moins sur une année en général. Ça veut dire que c'est pas mal. Hein.
Toi, t'acceptes ou pas?
1005?
Ouais.
Tous les jours, j'accepte.
Et tu fais un truc à côté ou pas? Un truc à côté?
Non, je fais rien, je peux pas faire un truc. Tu peux rien faire. Ah si, je fais toujours les streams, ouais, mais je peux faire un travail, tu peux pas. Hein.
Oh, ouais, c'est quand même chaud, hein, tu te fais virer, t'es dans la merde. Hein.
Comme ça, tu te fais virer.
Tu sais, toi, par exemple, maintenant, tu sais, maintenant, imaginons là, là, il y a une team, elle veut te recruter, mais tu sais, c'est une team de merde. Mais tu sais, elle te paye vraiment bien, elle te paye meilleur que l'autre.
Bah si elle paye bien, ouais, j'accepte si elle paye bien.
Bah tu vois, là, c'est pas bien ce que tu fais.
Je fais une année, je vois avec eux, je fais une année. Si ça se passe bien, bah voilà.
In the storm, you have the med mists, you have the chug jugs, you have everything you kind of need to be able to tank this storm and take a late rotate. So for Ivan Cade and his trio here, they don't really have too many problems. They don't have to rush anything here, as they're doing a good job of kind of when needed. Another kind of note is I believe Tripper was originally going to land at Kappa Kappa, so seeing him here at Shogun Solitude is interesting. A lot of quick mix-ups in the last moments, but so far, both trios have done a good amount of damage.
Ouais.
Ils ont... Tu regardes en fight, ils ont tous le pompe qui tire deux coups. Ouh.
De quoi?
Crack, tombe à 40 HP. Ils se fight là, ils ont qu'à dire nice le kick express sur notre Elfir. Ils ont tous le pompe à deux coups là.
Tu l'as sur YouTube.
Ouais. Ok, on se cherche.
Oh là là, mec, là, de la
rémunération. Non, il est la rêve. Nice, le monstre en lui. En fait, quand t'as un vrai pompe et quand l'autre il a un pompe à deux coups, un vieux pompe, c'est déséquilibré un peu. Hein.
Eh mec, attends, pourquoi t'as mis une photo de profil comme ça?
D'accord.
Ah, tu sais, ta photo de profil là.
Pourquoi?
Non, pas la photo de profil, comme je suis con. Attends. Tu sais, t'as le fond là, tu sais, pour le live.
La miniature?
Ouais, voilà. Pourquoi
D'accord.
t'as mis ça? C'est pas une cup.
Non, mais il y a des trucs FNC, c'est la fin de faire l'animation.
Oh.
X en follow clutch. Malik, quand t'es solo, tu dois avoir une pression au cup en finale comme ça.
Ouais, en solo. Imaginons 1v3, frère. Ouh.
Même en 1v1, le stress que tu dois avoir en 1v1, mais c'est tes deux bêtes qui te regardent.
Maybe even scouted out the fact that Misha is all by his lonesome. He's just gonna sit quiet as ever, hoping, praying that nobody.
Et type de 3 en plus à côté, il doit se faire oublier là.
And see this single player all by his lonesome, boxed up at the bottom of this bridge.
Non, il a bien joué, hein, Misha, il a bien joué. Hein.
That is a beyond rare sight to see him with a shot in that close of proximity, but.
Même de côté, le trio à Tyson,
Pas le
Iris et
Chico. Bon, t'as
Chico.
vraiment mis un prénom de merde, lui. Hein.
Qui? Chico?
Attends. Ouais, Chico. Qu'est-ce que t'en penses de son prénom?
Il y a mon électeur, il est passé, wesh, il est en finale, wesh.
Ah ouais?
Oh ouais.
Ouais,
Dingue,
la qualité, frère. Ah, mais il y a 12 games.
Ouais, il a 6 aujourd'hui et 6 demain.
Oh, moi, je vais tout faire maintenant.
Non, tu peux pas, ça dure 6 heures sinon. C'est au moins 6-7 heures au moins, c'est. De toute façon, qu'il y a les NA, il n'y a pas que la U, hein. C'est pour ça que tu peux pas faire ça tout aujourd'hui. Il y a toutes les régions.
Putain. Il y a tous les quoi, t'as dit?
Il y a toutes les régions. Mais en vrai, Fortnite, eux, ils lèvent en général que la U et la NA en général.
La quoi?
La U et la NA.
Bah ouais,
c'est la plus intéressante.
Aucun joueur connu là-bas.
highlighting the fact that those black
Ouais,
markets.
Nigel.
Il y a un mec au Brésil, il a gagné 5 fois qu'il win les FNCS au Brésil.
Qui?
C'est un pro, il est pas très connu, mais il n'y a pas de pro là-bas au Brésil. On va dire c'est le seul pro là-bas, tu vois. Ça fait 5 fois qu'il gagne les FNCS là-bas. Dinguerie, non?
Putain. En quoi t'as dit? En MO?
Non, non, Brésil, Brésil. C'est un Brésilien.
Oh. Ah, Marius. Marius. C'est lui?
Non, Marius, il joue en U. Je sais pas, en
Le mec, il est
Brésil.
trop fort.
Moi, Marius,
Sauf si, par exemple, par exemple, tu serais brésilien, si t'es pro, tout. Tu sais, tu parles en Europe ou soit tu restes au Brésil. Moi, je reste au Brésil, hein, tu te fais fou de quiche, hein.
Ouais, Brésil, ouais.
Ouais, frère.
Plus le lobby là-bas, il est moins fort, bro. Ouais, Dixie, ils ont 800 de storm.
68% increase of time spent in storm compared to the last season.
Comme tu vois, tous les trios là, ils sont quasi tous en zone. Quasi tous en zone.
Right in front of you, largely due like
Putain, tu sais moi comment j'aurais que campé, frère.
Mais
Mais
tu peux
t'as
pas camper.
vu
Tu peux pas camper avec la storm, tu peux pas camper, tu vas être mort sinon.
get that storm surge in what you could say almost a safer location with less trios, but at the point where you know,
Et toi, dans les games comme ça, vu que les mecs sont tous en zone, tu vois, il y a la storm, tu vois, qui tape. Bah, ça joue pas au hit blanc. Là, je finis avant. Et sur 60 tu de la spawn, Trickster. Robin et Chetin. Ah, Chetin, il a pu être 13, il a été knock, il a pu être 13. Tu me disais quoi? Ouh, t'as les jeunes en fight, eux. Chico qui est tombé, je sais pas ce qui s'est passé. Il va avoir une dinguerie. Ouais, Chico il est tombé, je sais pas ce qui s'est passé. Dommage, j'ai pas un petit replay pour pas montrer ce qui s'est passé. Ils ont mis de storm. Nice. Jolene. Nice, ça prend le kill, nice. Non, il a mis trop de sugar, oui. Dommage. Ah, il est mort, il prend la stop, il est mort. Il est repassé au-dessus. Il doit faire la différence en vrai, Tyson. Il a plus de vie. Nice. Bah, il joue la raise après sur Iris.
Mais non, putain, je suis con.
Prends la storm en face aussi. Hein.
This 1v1 exchange up against Twy, who is hoping to pounce at a more optimal moment. Instead, Tayson, he might even look to just play for the revive, ensure that he's got his duo to at least tag along with him for the duration of this match.
I mean, Tayson heard the crack onto Twy, meaning it was, you know, either a team shooting him from afar or more likely a storm surge. So he knows he cannot let Twy do damage to him right now, as if he kind of just waits it out. It should be able to tick Twy down enough to even maybe fully eliminating him, so it's a lot safer and a better option here.
Il y a beaucoup de pression, mais combat sous le trade de Tyson.
You gotta take those shots when they're
Ça brûle.
up to you, and as time goes on, he's gonna be forced to play the med mist. Twy's just one shot away.
Il devrait récupérer le kill, hein, parce qu'il passe une dinguerie, il devrait avoir le kill. Hein. Dommage, il a pas pu jouer la rêve et prendre le kill. Bien joué.
To bring his team back into the match.
Tayson is cooked off of that one. All he wanted
Cani
was to get
Cétine.
Beatrice back.
T'as vu Cétine en ce moment, il a fait lâcher le jeu, hein, t'as vu?
Pestering him non-stop. Even with Tayson securing the elimination, doesn't necessarily put him in a better spot to finish out game one. Seti, Cammy, and Hari, on the other hand, this is a trio that a lot of eyes have definitely been on leading into this weekend, just because we all know what took place in
tu raisonnes.
we all try not to talk about it as well. But Seti, Cammy, Hari, if there's a team that loves surge basing, it might be them. Sweeze, Podesai, and Art Skill.
Ce sont les fers qui font. Wouah, il y a fers qui se fait découper. Arski qui va mourir avec Poda et Plaisir. Tu vas mort par Jules, Saouli et TJ. Même pas qui c'est. Dico qui va prendre un kill sur Chico.
Putain.
Attends, genre ce qui s'est passé. Attends le replay.
Vas-y. Oui.
Ah ouais, il a découpé, TJ, il a découpé. Ouais, il a découpé.
Oui, qu'est-ce qui.
Ouais, donc c'est. Ouais, tricher à les faire.
It's difficult. This is a
Putain,
major
mais...
finals lobby. The amount of
Je sais même pas qui c'est en plus. Je les connais même pas. Onju, tout ça.
threshold is incredibly high for Julie.
Attends, mais pourquoi ça me fait ça?
Après, genre Fortnite, ils aiment tellement changer de pseudo.
Qui?
Bah, genre Fortnite, ils sont à chaque fois de pseudo.
Moi.
Ou Thomas G. la Tom Sol, hein. Réputé pour son aim, ça peut faire quelque chose. Hein.
They are already in the zone, ready to take shots at the trios rotating in.
And Thomas rocking that mythic drum gun. We've seen exactly how potent he can be whenever this is in his hands, and
Whoa.
already making good use of it, lighting up teams that are looking to rotate along this hill face.
Ah bah là, il est mort là.
It's been a minute since we've gotten to check
Ouais,
out
ils sont morts là.
Poor man with Atris tasting
Ligo qui vient de tomber. Ils vont sûrement aller le reste à mon avis. Ils vont le porter, nice. Le reste. Vanek qui récupère un qui sont vendus.
But they were clearly after a priority position towards the next zone, even if it meant playing for a dead side wraparound. Now they're gonna have to reconsider their next move because teams know that they've been weakened, and Kido Volko, they're not willing to let just pass on by. All getting tangled.
Ouais, ils vont prendre cher. Volko Kido, ils vont prendre cher face à Veno et Ligo. Et on fixe la rota.
Est-ce que t'as déjà vu, tu sais, qu'on clique, tu sais, il allait chez comment il s'appelle? Chez Veno, et tu sais, c'était rempli de merde.
Ouais.
Oh, mais que c'est hardcore de laisser comme ça.
Mais tu sais, Veno, avant, c'est ce qu'il faisait, Veno?
Il faisait quoi?
Il mangeait ses crottes de lait.
Oh, mais stop là! Stop là, alors.
Enfin, Veno, ouais, Veno, il est pas très propre, hein, Veno. Ouais. Oh bah oui, ils sont mal, les. Même Vanek, surtout, ils sont mal, ils ont même pas chill, les. Oh, la game, elle se cloche assez vite, hein. 43 joueurs.
Ouais. Ouais, regarde. Qui est la famille?
La Storm, elle doit faire mal, la Storm. En tout cas, pas la Storm, mais elle doit taper, hein. Ça veut dire qu'il vient de récupérer un kill Moneymaker qui vient de tomber, un Moneymaker.
Quoi, cette merde? Pourquoi son âme?
Je pense qu'il va jouer le high première game. Moi j'aime bien Veno, soit jouer le high, ou soit meurt sachant.
Ah, attends, je vois pas. Je sais pas. C'est chaud là, tu peux pas trop bien voir.
Moi je pense que c'est soit Veno qui vont finir sur le high, soit meurt sachant. Un des deux trios.
Oh.
La prochaine zone, ça va commencer à les jouer là, le high, hein. Prochaine zone.
Mec, quand t'as light, mec, t'as gagné, frère, d'avance.
Bah ça dépend, si tu fais griffe par les mecs en haut qui te font casser, ça dépend.
Ouais, mais tu sais, non, t'as pas gagné, mais tu sais, t'es...
Pour l'instant, la Shari, pour l'instant, Camille, c'est sur la pour l'instant.
Secondary high position, but there is a lot of lobby focus headed their way. Marius, Vanya, Pixie, they were trying to tussle with some of these teams.
Ou Marius, sans solo clutch, c'est crack en plus. Ça va être compliqué, hein. Je pense que solo clutch de Marius, ça peut passer ou pas?
Just building for his life, hoping that no one recognizes that he
Ce
is a
52 matchs à peu près.
and with reason Steve
Top 14.
on the other level of his current layer.
Une fois qu'il gratte, il game à 16 points là, c'est chaud. Hein.
He's going to be forced into a 5-1.
Pas dès qu'ils vont lancer le high, t'as Camille, Sechi et Shari.
And that's Cammy, Seti, and Hari already making sure to just spray everybody underneath them and try and ruin that front side low ground position that Queasy's team's setting up for.
This is not a trio that you'd expect to see first moving zone on height in game 1 of the EU FNCS Major Finals, but they ended up having that prime elevated position on the hill. They held that for 7th. Zone pulled towards them on 8th and 9th here now, and it looks like they're going to try and
Maintenant, ce qui vient de tomber, il y a un.
Cammy said Hari.
Ça reste toujours en vie.
But now they've been looking like favorites going into this major. They're uncontested and they're capitalizing on it.
Vene qui est tombé. Vico aussi qui va pas tarder à tomber. 37 HP. Je pense que je le vois pas trop, je sais pas il est où. Ah, Vico qui va tomber. Exigeant sur le clutch. 32 maths, 0 de maths, ça va être compliqué. Oh, il a du bloc pour t'en un peu. Top 12, Quizzy qui vient de se raisonner.
He might have found a moment of relief. He might have even found an opportunity to strike, but he has no builds left. He's forced. He's scrambling out from underneath, but now
C'est compliqué.
continuing to suppress,
Tampon blanc.
into where he's currently located. He's trying to die, dip, duck, dodge every which way.
Qu'est-ce qu'il faut oublier pour l'instant?
So many directions he can head before one of these
Oh, lui là qui fait mal.
takes notice. This is a solo
Ça touche.
left all alone.
C'est son kill, nice, bien joué. Faut le finir. Bien joué. Ah, dommage.
Sur Nicolas, en allemand.
Toujours cette chicha et Canicuro est un. Manibuka la prédite. Oh, la prédite qui fait mal sur Blacha. Dommage qu'il vient de récupérer un kill.
Putain, frère, en allemand, c'est une idée.
Oh, le mec qui fait drop. Leur stats qui remonte sur ce raid. T'avais dit quoi? T'avais dit ou pas? Squeezie Mersa sur le raid à la fin.
C'est bon, c'est bon.
Camille, ils ont dû tomber. Hein. Camille, ça, ils ont dû tomber. Est-ce qu'ils auraient pas allé chercher ce top 1 de leur stage?
Mustache, Queasy, Swizzy, though they know job's not finished. Pink currently in control of that front side low, but so many bodies surrounding him. Kira's now potentially going to get tangled up in the mix. Nebs and Kudo, though, they're making sure to stick right behind their IGL.
Rox sur le clutch. Bah, Rox qui va tomber.
Walks taken out. No builds means no opportunities to bring this one back.
Top 4. Ah, ils sont tellement bien. Hein.
Swizzy just continuing to spray, continuing to
Il devrait aller chercher cette win. Hein. Top 3, il reste que les trios.
He's trying to see if he can just break through. He knows these walls don't belong to him, but he's running out of materials, Takata.
Quizzy qui vient de récupérer un kill. Deux trios et un duo. C'est Pink et Nets qui restent. Je sais pas s'ils peuvent faire quelque chose, à mon avis ils vont tomber. Pink qui tombe. Nets qui essaie de remonter. Il fait crack.
Je vais tout niquer en fait.
3v3. Et ça va être un top 1 du côté de Merstat et Sweezy. Hein. Première gaming par eux. Ouais. Et le top 1 de Merstat. Putain, les games comme ça, ils sont incroyables. Incroyables à regarder.
Mustache and Swizzy play janitor crew on the low ground. They were absolutely picking up just constant.
Regarde la pauvre des Fortnite, comment ils vont monter s'ils montent là, la pauvre de Murchak. Ils sont montés les joueurs de Takami, Seti, Shari. Ils ont découpé.
I love how Queasy, Swizzy and Mustache do such a good job of knowing.
Ça, c'est du de light, tu vois, ça peut être fort, mais tu te fais drop. Tu te fais drop par un trio qui veut te le monter dessus, mais ça fait mal. Hein.
And Hari going into that late game, they pulled the mountain zone, they pulled the first moving, everything was in their favor, but Queasy's like, you know, we don't gotta rush it.
T'as vu, ils ont top 1 10 kills, hein. Ils top 1 10 kills, top 1 14, top 1 12 même. Ils sont bien, hein. Il doit au moins 110 points, moi, non? Au moins 100, entre 100 et 110 points, moi.
Talk about now. A Queasy, Swizzy, Mustache. This is what we expected. This is what we wanted from this Trio 11. I wasn't expecting them to do it in game 1, but here you go. They're setting out their stall for the weekend and they are setting their sights on Leon.
What a first game. What a
Aussi
first
sur
game.
Tracker.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that. It's funny, right? Because we spent a lot of time on the broadcast this year talking about like Queasy taking height from the 8th zone and it's
Ouais,
like,
Gros,
nobody
j'ai
can
tout
take it over.
cassé,
He
frère.
said,
Gros,
"Hold
c'est
on a
en
minute.
allemand.
They don't have to be
Mais
in
quoi en
zone.
allemand?
It can be whenever. Out.
Mais mon
Why?
truc,
It was the
frère.
11th zone. They chop Kamiseti and Hari. They take it off of their mustache. Queasy, Swizzy, so ruthless in these scenarios where they are taking height from someone, not just when they are playing it early mini and they win out the game. A sign of what's to come.
Yeah, really, really great stuff from this team. I think what I really liked about that was that they didn't have like an absolute abundance of materials when going for height, and I think that just shows the confidence, the ability of this team to take height when they don't necessarily have that many materials. They are able to chop down height. They took out
Bah,
and Hari, and the way
T'as
they
pas
were able to get
12.
those refreshes allowed them to take height and win the
Et
game.
ben.
Really, really nicely done from them,
Putain.
and just a perfect way for them to start the game. We spoke about how they start their games
Deuxième,
in
on a
the,
vu là,
in
c'est
the
90
sort
points.
of at the beginning of the show, and we didn't really touch too much on how they play height, but right there was just an absolute masterclass on how to take it late.
How many games now in FNCS finals has Queasy won? Like, I think he already had the.
Wesh, il y a un écart de fou entre les premiers et 12e, wesh. Tu sais?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Ah ouais?
Well, if I
Il y a
recall
90
correctly,
points d'avance,
60
wesh.
yards from Queasy, that's a trick in it.
C'est beaucoup, hein. Sur une finale comme ça.
All major
Après, les points de kill, ils donnent tellement, tu peux remonter avec des points de kill, ça donne tellement.
But I want to see.
Veno, 8ème pour l'instant, 53 points.
If he can do 7, because he did 6
Ah, il
back
rentre
in
6.
chapter 4 with Veno, so
Bon,
maybe
monsieur Savage, ils ont fait un retour lobby.
or more with
Ça
his
fait
trio
14,
this weekend.
22
We're only
points.
one game in, guys. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to discuss where our other trios are sitting on the leaderboard.
Ouais, pour les FR, il y a deux trios FR. Je t'avais dit tout à l'heure. Vendu Akira, Kurama et Warex. Et Arskill pour Dari et Swizzy. Pas ce qui s'est passé du côté des FR. Hein. Il doit y avoir une rage dans le vocal. Hein. Surtout Kurama. Il dit qu'il y a dû y avoir une rage du côté des FR. Kurama, Akira et Warex. Ça a dû rager entre Akira. Surtout Akira lui rage beaucoup, Akira. Et Kurama. Aïe aïe. Bon, il y a 2 minutes là. 2 minutes 10.
Allo, épelle le blast s'il te plaît, frérot. Vas-y, pime ta grand-mère. Eh lui, ouais, la vie de ma mère, plus jamais je lui épelle un truc, retenez. Non, c'est bon, bas les couilles, c'est bon, j'ai trouvé, c'est bon.
Mais c'est toi qui m'as dit. Wesh, le Kidjo, hein.
Quoi?
Me dis pas que le Kidjo il a activé un petit truc avant la grande finale.
Le micro.
Wesh, wesh le Kido. Regarde, je la vanille, regarde ce qu'il a mis Kido. Regarde, je la vanille. Ouais.
Bah attends, mais j'ai pas mis son truc.
Non, c'est le Bugs, ouais, Bugs Fake, je pense.
Ouais, je vois ce qu'il a mis sur Tenny, wesh.
Non, Bugs Fake. Non, Bugs Fake. En vrai, frérot, Bugs Fake.
Regarde ce qu'il a mis, wesh. Regarde ce qu'il a mis, wesh.
C'est quand pour le activé en grande et tout, c'est le pire move. Arrête, mais arrête d'abuser, s'il te plaît.
Moi, je pense pas que ce soit le mode rediff, hein. On voit ce qu'il a mis.
Il y a encore un tweet, les gars.
Tu regardes ou quoi?
Et il abuse.
Non, je vois pas là.
Ouais, je vois ce qu'il a mis, wesh.
C'est mort, il a aucune et pour le camé qui a les yeux tout rouges.
On me dit à l'oreillette Flo qui tweet.
Ouais, je la vanille, il fait une Veno et. Ouais, il fait une Veno dans son t-shirt.
Arrête de te faire bait, arrête de tomber dessus, arrête. Ah ouais, Flo qui tweet. Ah ouais, les gars, bah vas-y, on va aller voir. Je suis définitivement maudit. Ouais, merci, c'était le Twitch à 4 jours, on est tous au courant. Merci, les gars.
On a 3 minutes, ça lance. Bon. avec une vidéo sur YouTube hein, pour l'instant. 3 minutes. Prochaine game. Ce qu'il a fait lui avec le kill.
Zadie skin whilst playing reload with an hour late. Wait, fuck. With a 1 hour late queue. Oski, are you ready to drop a 30 bomb?
I'm so ready.
Allô, salam.
Moi je sais pas c'est quoi.
Y'a quoi?
Je t'ai quoi cette vidéo? Je peux pas regarder. Wesh. Moi j'ai crash le jeu, j'arrive pas à regarder une vidéo, c'est que j'ai crash le jeu.
Crash.
Ouais. Oh vas-y wesh.
Non, 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 mais non.
Bon.
Had to watch content creators get
C'est
the
bon.
new Zadie skin.
Oh no! Respawn! Nice!
I'm in, I'm dropping on them. Actually, no, there's a slurp truck. Try and make your way back to the slurp.
Dead! Oh my god! 50 crack! Oh my!
Ouf.
Oh, it doesn't matter, doesn't matter.
Go, go, go.
Where do I go? Oh! Dead!
I've only got...
165!
Yep.
Dead! Nice. Going for that?
90 on the focus skin.
Non, merde.
80. What the? Dead?
Nice. Alright. Chug up, chug up.
100.
Ouais, ce qu'il met au pistolet wesh.
3, 2,
Bonne aim hein, le frérot. Dis-moi quand ça reprend.
200.
Yeah, just keep looking for maps.
Oh, no.
And everyone and yeah, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. I'd crash pad it when you finish lagging out. And you're dead.
I'm dead because of the toaster.
Il est mort. Bon. Il ira après je pense.
Dead.
Wesh. Attends il a mis quoi? Il va mettre quoi? Il est mort.
Dead.
Ok.
Oh god, like,
Bon.
To everybody, nobody was expecting it, and they just cleaned house, man.
Yeah, I mean, if this is going to be what they're going to do now, I mean, they're going to go into it with a lot of confidence, right? It seems like Janus, experienced FNCS veterans, going down on spawn. That confidence is going to be so vital for them. Unfortunately, didn't really work out in the rest of the game.
Nala
Problems for them going into the end game.
Je savais que ça s'appelle Pierre
They
Boris.
can do now because it seems like Mars Meadows isn't necessarily going to be their drop spot choice.
Yeah, but like,
T'as dit quoi?
Ah oui, ça s'appelait Pierre Boris.
land in a bunch of different places where teams are fighting off spawn and clean up those fights. Like, they're the best team in the world to do that, right? This could really work for them and be a cook of a strategy.
No one is going to be expecting the Venno Inquisition. I can't wait to see where they're dropping next, boys. Observers, make sure that we've got the cameras fixed on those guys every single game, please. We have got to head into game number 2, though. So let's head back to Taco and Takata and find out where those boys are dropping.
See, Levin's scared me a little bit, Frankie. He's given me a bit of concerns because he's like, okay, you know, Venovico Flixie, they landed at this new drop
Bah
spot.
attends, moi je vais tout casser, frère. Pourquoi c'est en anglais la conne de... en allemand la conne de ta race?
Are they just gonna keep going through different POIs each game? Like, how do you plan out that? I got so
Je
many
vais écouter
questions.
extension, je sais pas
And
si.
the other issue too is for the rest of the lobby, you can't even get too caught up in thinking about what Venom, Vico, and Flixie are doing because you've got to focus on your own game plan. If match 1 didn't pan out in your their favor. That's not to say that game 2 couldn't be yours for the taking. So a lot of these teams just gonna keep their eyes on the prize, and that's getting off to a steady start here in day 1.
Yeah, normally you think the surprises are kind of out of the way.
Et bon, deuxième game, ça part. Il y a deuxième game, on se va regarder.
Because the match will start right now.
Attends. Je vais juste voir ça.
You know, we had a special request from the desk to get a nice
Ouais, ça,
perspective of what's taking place with Veno, Vico, and Flixie. But like we just talked about, Takata, there are other teams looking to throw their names into the hat for that Blade of Champions, and building up a nice lead for day 1 heading into day 2 is always a huge benefit to the master plan.
Kind of looking at the mini map. Okay, I see a few names at Outlaws, but is it as much as there was in the last match? We will be looking though at kind of a 50-50 drop that isn't gonna be a 50-50 per se, as maybe I might have
il spawn même plus à basket.
shots already being traded.
Il spawn ici
Shots
maintenant.
were traded, but Z Andy, it's actually
Spawn au bail.
elsewhere. Mr. Savage, the deal, Reason, they're gonna be the first ones to touch down. Might be a short-lived victory.
Allez, il faut gagner le spawn, le Savage. Là, sa propre équipe, bien joué.
Too much pressure. Those are the tags that you have to land this early on, and now the advantage has been completely split into the Deals team's favor. Nam's going to be forced to bail out the opposite direction. But they are just so separated from each other. It's going to be so much easier now for Reason's team to just fully take over.
Yeah, looking like a 2-0 so far, as we go back over to Vico, Veno, and Flixie. And it looks like they're going all over the place, Taco.
Yeah, they've opted to go completely different. Lovely lane type of scene, so they might still be looking to try and push a little bit south. Those teams that they know are going to be contesting each other early on. The fact of the matter is, though, if I'm Teeny especially, I am looking at Veno and Raz and just thinking to myself, these guys really stole my whole flow, bar for bar. Wanna be me so bad right now. But Veno, Vico, and Flixie, they're definitely the sort to carve their own identity with this kind of strategy, Takata. And it seems like Whiffy Wharf is on the mind, but does the other team that's already inbound at Whiffy even know of what's about to take place?
Getting
ahead of the rest of his team. Peter Bohr create some space. Zangi and Zara, they're gonna have to be quick on their feet though if they want to catch up. And Peter just exclusively on the run right now. He does not want anything to do with Veno. He wants the reinforcements before taking up this fight. And Veno, this is what makes him so clever. A cut above the rest, just constantly keeping tabs. He spots 2 players. I know there's one still lurking. I'm not going to overexpose myself.
Veno's looking fast. I like the way it's looking right now. They clearly prepared to take these fights. Zara's already gonna get cracked. This isn't even their original drop spot, but they're just going from drop to drop, taking fights on trios all over the map. And as good as fighters as they are, if they're able to consistently close these out, this is going to be the first time well, it is literally the first time we've ever witnessed a playstyle like this. I'm trying to think overall, not only in the major finals, especially on purpose.
Tina Misha, who really kick-started the whole ordeal
a
while back, but even still,
lui aussi qui a publié. Félix fait crack.
Oh,
Faut pas tomber, hein. Nice, récupère le premier kill. 3 et 2.
Zara claimed. That's one elimination in tow. 2 left to go.
Nice, frag. Oh, Nico. Allez, Nico, un HP. Bien joué.
For a moment, thought we'd have to worry, but it's Vico that we're talking about after all. That's his next elimination in sight. Clean trio wipe here at Whiffy Wharf, and it's that time to elimination. Veno, Vico, and Flixie get it done so fast.
Now it's about what's next, though. Have they really prepared the rotates from all of these different drop spots? How are they going to play out those mid games, switching it up every time? We'll see how it goes. As right now, Giras, Frenek, Dynas trying to see if they can at least get a bit of tags here on Hellfire, Scrapped, and Trip. Not too much aggression, but Kind of just shots back and
Enfin, la
forth.
saison, j'espère qu'ils vont mettre des bons pompes hein, pour la saison.
It's quite literally an
Ouais.
uphill battle though for Tripper, and it's what it's felt like this entire season so far. Tripper is not willing to be a bystander though, probably just happy to be a participant for the Major 2 finals. So
Je sais pas comment c'est venu l'idée de mettre un pompe avec une PM ça. Ah, je me prends toujours quoi ça. Ils ont dit un jour, un amateur va mettre un pompe avec une PM.
They might be making an introduction that is not accounted for.
Ou raison qui ça le kill.
Letting you go untouched here is not.
Dis, vous voulez faire quoi un jour, une saison, c'est ce que vous voulez faire ou pas?
Initial pick to start off.
T'as dit quoi?
Si un jour il voulait faire une saison, faire quoi? Il voulait mettre une saison sans pompe.
Qui?
Fortnite, il voulait faire une saison sans pompe.
Ouais, ils ont vraiment des idées de gag aussi, hein, des fois.
In game 1 and find themselves at another
Wow.
trio in order to be the ones to kind of put an end to it, as it looks like Savage is gonna kind of continue making his way. As they might even be able to use this chase as a rotate in a sense as well, if they want to go kind of that east side on congested route. A lot less trios contested around there though, so there is going to be less action and most likely not as much Storm playing. But you got to think, you know, is Queasy, Swizzy, Merstash going to be waiting for them if they take that route? A lot of things to consider.
La la la
There's just no
la.
reason not to follow Twy though, because even if he manages to get a little bit of distance from Reason's trio, they're right by Mass Meadows. The black market is right there, so Savage's team will have no issues replenishing any heals that they might lose along the way. They're definitely willing to commit, spending a little bit of time inside of the storm. Sky Scroll and Eye Drop. This is a team, though, that's been relatively quiet throughout match number 1. And it's also a team where
Mais avant les PM, ils étaient tellement bien parce qu'ils ont éclaté les PM. Ils sont nuls les PM.
he wants to prove that he's got what it takes
Tellement bien les
top tier
PM.
placement.
Hey, Mini believes in it. I
Bon,
believe
Vanya
in it
avec
too.
Marie qui vont peut-être fight.
Vanya, Marius, and Pixie. This is a trio that has been kind of dominating Flooded Frogs throughout the season. In the divisional cups, playing incredibly consistent as well. And it should be
Ils avaient pas fait une
for
très bonne
here
première game.
in the major finals.
Mais
They've
c'est
got their
franchement.
plan routed out, and they know what they need to do to get themselves to the late game. But right now, the step is kind of just taking shots, doing
Nice.
damage.
Ouais, je suis sûr qu'ils iraient monter.
I don't think they're gonna
Il a un Marius.
here.
Looking at
Ouais,
the amount of heals he gets, he's
T'entends
on
déjà, Ron?
that stairwell.
T'as dit
Ils
quoi?
voulaient faire fight.
Maker, though, they finally got
Attends, je vais juste le
the
fight après je te dis.
for Strokey's team, but Giannis seemingly has the advantage.
Tu vois, Marius, il a tiré sur un gars, tu vois. Et son visage, après, c'est directement monté. Il s'est directement remonté son visage.
From above, that's gonna be green light to go. Knows that he's cracked. But
Bizarre
still
tout ça. Hein.
willing to just wait it out. There's not many places left to run when you are inside of Sakura Stadium. So they're willing
Toujours
to
dans
just stick to the
tout.
high ground. Don't take any
Dans tous les 33 feux, il y en a au moins un qui tue. Hein. 100%, il y en a au moins un qui tue.
They want to close this one out though. You can definitely tell that they are aching.
T'as vu ce qui s'est passé en finale de la chance, t'as vu ou pas? De la chance, t'as vu ou pas?
Non.
Et il y a les cheaters, ils se font introduire.
Ouais, oui, ça j'ai vu ça.
Ils ont même pas fait top 1 sur la dernière game en plus.
Look, they are comfortable with this side of the map. They did land Flooded Frogs.
Les deux premières games, tu vois, ils se sont suicidés, tu vois, les deux premières games, ils se suicident. Et ils se sont dit, ouais, troisième game, on va top 1, ils se sont arrachés troisième game.
Rotate here and doing damage. They're just looking for openings, looking for options, and kind of going back and forth there. Luckily enough, the
C'est de 18h, wesh. Dans une heure, hein, si tu veux jouer.
continue on the full uncongested side and not take a lot of those risks.
Tu veux jouer ou pas? Tu vas faire?
Down south, they're gonna have to
Tu vas regarder?
Vas-y, on se
rotate
fait
and even
tu veux.
conserve a lot of the materials.
Moi je suis chaud de faire. Hein.
It's looking good, in my opinion, for Vico, Beno, and Flixie here. As
Comme
long as they
tu
don't
veux.
do anything
Vas-y, on essaye, on
risky.
va faire deux, non? Niveau pont, on essaye. Hein.
One problem that's building though is Veno. He's got Darkisa's trio.
T'es occupé là ou pas? T'es occupé?
They are currently boxed, and sure you want to take
Là?
the
Ouais.
odd shot or two at Eyedrop's team, but you can't
Tu
find
peux regarder, regarde après si top combien, si c'est bien top 100.
Veno using that natural elevation to
Et
cover
compare avec la U, c'était top combien le top 100?
any line of sight
Pour avoir le
from
skin,
Eyedrop
c'est possible ou
and just
pas.
try to deal with the immediate threat, and
En œil, vas-y, je vais dire ça. Ouais, mais je pense que c'était beaucoup. Hein.
Au moins
Ça
200,
va, il a
au moins 200 points.
Hein?
Au moins
Mais
200
bien
points.
sûr, tous les jours. T'es malade, toi.
C'est passé quoi? Vérité.
Moi, je suis dans...
Yeah, this is the fight we were kind of seeing. Ended up playing it out.
Dommage pour
And
Moneymaker.
now they have the option to make their way back into zone, but we'll look here at Ferdoxy, Pablo, and Chino.
No, my daddy.
C'est combien alors?
Do they even know?
Putain, mais pourquoi ça veut pas m'amener vers les tournois? Ah, voilà.
So many trios just playing in zone for an incredibly long period of time. What I'm thinking now is they'll rotate into zone. They have to pass through.
Replay sur Ferdoxy.
They have to pass through and City potentially.
Ouais, il a découpé Trixon.
C'est top 100. Ouais, ah, mais merde! Je suis con, j'ai mis les FN16.
We'll see how they end up navigating that.
Tac.
No surprises though to see so many other teams still willing to commit to some of these storm fights. And Chaps, V, Teeny.
Ça, c'était combien? Ça, c'était combien? 234.
234, c'est juste la bonne cup. 234.
Ouais?
Et regarde en NA, c'est top combien? C'est bien top 100. En centrale, c'est bien top 100 à 19h. Si c'est pas top 100, ça sert à rien, on l'aura jamais, c'est top 50.
Ouais, voilà, ouais, t'as raison.
100?
Attends. Amérique du Nord, du Nord centre.
Centrale, c'est centrale, ouais.
Ouais, c'est ça. Ouais, top 100, ouais.
Okay. Ça va être pareil, ça va être au moins 200 points, ça aussi. Hein. Ça va être pareil. Hein. Moi, je vois bien ça finit à 210 points, ouais, en centrale, 210.
And they really can't take too much time here. Not only that, now they have the issue of getting chased alongside that. Cade, Ivan,
Allez, sous bloc.
there's more than
Allez, Chap.
is down. Teeny left
Et bien sur le clutch.
Crumbling down for this trio.
Ah, c'est Chris en plus en face.
Mais non.
Si. J'ai du monde, lui. Il y a un truc qui vient de se bouger, il y a Kido en face.
Kido, also nearby. Other teams that have been a little bit caught up in harm's way here as Volko now fully aware of the fact that Cade
Les games d'avant, Kido il a mis une dinguerie, wesh.
right behind him. They're just
Dinguerie avec son air qu'il a mis.
Steady goes on the low ground. Just playing inside of the vault building.
Oh, c'est qui tombe. Beno sur le clutch, je crois que Beno ça va tomber. Hein. Il va avoir plein de fiches. Nice, blanc. Ah, V3, ça va être chaud en V3. Ah, et puis en face, Alex, Darkies et King. Dommage. Il est top 8 en descendre pour descendre.
Yeah, I'm not sure what caused that, initial knock to happen, but what we have to keep in mind is they're down 26th place with 3 eliminations. Like, this is something. It is, 12 total matches throughout the 2 days, but they had a pretty good start with the amount of eliminations, the position they got. If they get these,
c'est Joe, ils sont morts, c'est Joe. Oh, c'est fini, fast contingent. Et le deuxième aussi, c'est fini. Et c'est 2 sims dans la vie du reste, c'est un malade, j'ai amusé.
With all the players flying throughout the sky.
But this strategy is what really boded so well for iDrop's team in the last major, at least throughout the divisional weeks. It's cool. They'll keep things rolling. Artie has been eliminated. 5 eliminations in total, though, so you have to anticipate that iDrop's team is definitely massively benefiting as far as their surge damage goes, but I think more importantly still, it's the third-party nature. They were notorious for it all throughout Major 1 and the last season, so to see them being able to replicate some of those methods of success here, that's going to be a huge momentum swing in their favor. But now they need to translate this early success into a nice late game finish.
Yeah, I mean, they got 4th place last match, ended 6th overall on the leaderboard. They only had 3 eliminations. Now they already have more than what they had after they finished the last match. For success, what they don't need to do now is keep taking these fights in zone. I think it's kind of time to start rotating.
Nice. Oh là là là, Troll qui tombe. Et là, ça va aller chercher en face.
And this is an opening for Giraz, Frantic and Dynus to continue pushing on through.
Real thorn in the side right now for iDrop's team. That is the last thing that they would have expected, is to just be trailed. It's unfortunate for Skrull, but sometimes you gotta be willing to throw up those builds behind you, just not quick enough with it. Definitely a very unfortunate outcome. Kuo on the opposite end of that one, though. Big knock, big cleanups, massive eliminations that are just going to permit them to stick around in Storm one moment longer.
Look, Malabuka and Walks have been looking insanely consistent. We talked about them kind of not having the best performance in the play-ins, you know, to match their expectations, and in Week 5, the Divisional Cup Finals, but even throughout the day, they made it to the late game in the first match. They got a good amount of eliminations. They're looking incredibly set up to do that once again in this second game, and Major Finals all about consistency, so I'm liking what we're seeing so far.
I like to take that Div Week 5 Finals with a grain of salt, because also have to remember that was when Veno's team decided we're going to be landing Lone Wolf Lair as well, and then it definitely posed a couple of issues for Malabuka's team in terms of how they wanted to handle that. So
en face, il joue à lane, c'est du monde.
Major 2 Finals weekend is all that they are intent on
Oui, ça va être compliqué, hein.
They're even all boot camping in Germany. They're building up
Les pondeurs, on est bien.
I think synergy as a team, and it could net a really positive end result. But like you already know, Takata, you never want to get too far ahead of yourself. You never want to start to daydream about being in that winning position, because you got to focus on the here and now.
Gotta lock in, just like Thomas HD with this drum gun, literally doubling the damage from every other player in the group stage that also have the drum gun in their, you know, rightful group. Thomas HD had 6,000 damage just with the drum gun in his group to qualify him. And, you know, their placements, we talked about consistency, Camiseti, Kari being the most consistent trio. As you know, they played all the divisional cups together. Thomas with Upland Panzer played the last 3 together. They got 6th, 3rd, 5th. I mean, you don't get much more consistent than that. So hopefully we'll see the same kind of trend player out here in the major finals.
Airdrop vient de récupérer un kill sur Heavy.
For Panzer and Upple exclusively, because everybody knows about Thomas and his placement history, but
Janice
Panzer
vient
and
de
Upple,
tomber.
they both had
Sur mon
relatively
jaune.
solid success. I mean, we're talking about 8th place finish with Panzer's team in the last major. We saw Upple with 6th
Faut prendre un peu plus, à niveau maths ça va être compliqué sinon. Ah, et on prend focus par tout le monde. Faire beaucoup de maths. Si on n'a pas la zone, il prend encore un focus.
La famille, tout ça. Oh, oui.
Alors, ça prend un storm qui est en dessous. De quoi?
La famille, elle va bien.
Ouais, il est 43 en dessous, il faut toucher. Faut les rentrer dedans. Hein.
Oui, ça refait, c'est quoi ça? Tu sais, je voulais mettre Solari.
Ouais.
C'est sur Google. Et tu sais, ça a mis Sylvie. Il est stylé, c'est stylé pour toi. Sylvie. Non.
scrambling to get out of
Ça va.
dodge. They're not willing to stick around. Pink knows the team above us, they are massively desperate. We don't need to do anything. We'll just tackle the team that's one layer underneath us.
134, faut tuer un mec qui a pas le choix là. Là, ça craque. Ah, on va tomber. Hein. Car qu'il est mort, on l'a dit. Hein. Ah, c'est dommage, ouais. C'est dommage, j'avais 30. C'est 23 en dessous de la storm, ils auraient dû faire quelque chose, c'est dommage. On a Kyo. Est-ce qu'il peut faire quelque chose?
Keiro! Oh putain là!
Non, Kyo. Leur stade qui se fait crack. Ned, c'est le aussi qui vient de tomber.
Now being 143 below, down to 49. Low on shield.
49 en plus de la storm, première place. Ça va être chaud, ils avaient win la première game, deuxième game ça va être compliqué là. Squeezie qui a 1 HP. Nice, ça prend le plus sur le Volco.
Big Elim when they needed it most. And that's going to be the first one for this trio even. So surge damage is definitely an issue for some of these other teams. A little bit more center map to find. And Mustache, Swizzy, Queasy.
Déjà cette game il est plus safe que celle d'avant.
They need more refreshes and they need to make it to the bodies because they
la stomp qui fait mal dans cette game.
Look at this.
Tranquille quoi le rouillard. Bien la famille, quoi?
C'est bon, t'as fini ton mail, c'est bon, t'as tout réglé. Mon mec qui vient de tomber, Squeezie qui vient de tomber. C'est quoi le problème alors actuellement là?
Mais je sais pas, je m'en bats les.
Nice, Marcel qui est chaud. Mais il va prendre la storm, il va peut-être tomber là. Il a plus sur un 61, 14 derrière là. Aïe aïe, il va tomber. Il est mort.
Kalash sur la mélodie. Aucune peine, Zongo dit Zongo. Kalash sur la mélodie.
La bagnette sur ce high. Est-ce que ce serait pas encore les Emus qui vont taper encore la game?
Non, même pas.
Bah, Steven Noctomage des... Allez, il a un HP. Akira qui vient de tomber.
Putain, mais je suis con.
Il y a plus de fer, non? Top 13.
Vanya, Marius, and Pixie have great odds to do so. As Sky Scroll and I drop incredible performance. So many eliminations already on the board. They were consistent in the first game. There's so many big names they can still hit.
Il y a encore des FR, Oda, Squeezie, Artkill, subi par le Ice là.
Putain,
drop dans le Ice.
They've just got to get it moving. They've got to make sure that they are in the front side. They don't want to get caught up in the mix of the congestion that's starting to really build inside of these mid to lower layers. And just all the while, Mr. Savage, Reason, and Vadil
Nice, prends pas dessus.
quietly chipping away at these builds right in front of them.
Pour descendre, bien joué.
They've got to be real careful here. They might not even be aware that
300 de mat.
it's going to be Vadil instead who's collected. Pablo potentially the one benefiting in that process.
Ah, il qui a récupéré un kill. Top 11, Elfir qui vient de tomber.
Putain, mais je vais les enculer avec cet allemand de merde. Hein. Je sais pas qu'est-ce qu'ils ont avec cet allemand. Putain, frère.
Nice, ils vont pouvoir raise. Le jacket a 12 kills, je crois. On arrive sur le hype. Scroll qui va peut-être tomber, ouais, Scroll qui tombe. Attention, pas trop de Marius, je remonte. On a plus de balles d'air carrément du côté de Pixie, ça tire aux pompes. Périphérie qui tombe, Chino qui tombe, Pablo qui tombe. Ça va être sur le club qui tombe top 7. Et en bas ça découpe quand et le hack commence à être trop bien du côté du raid. Posa qui tombe.
Mais j'ai juré je vais mettre en anglais. Je parle plus l'anglais.
Tidi qui tombe.
Mais non.
Mais si.
Putain, il est tombé.
Top 5. Pixie va griffe. Et FR, aïe aïe aïe, c'est fini pour les FR. Ouais, top 5 du côté des FR, c'est pas trop mal. Pour ce qui creuse. Sky qui tombe. Top 4. C'est bien parti hein, pour Pixie, Marius et Vania qui a un coup de top 1.
Mais non.
Encore un top 1 des mythes. Marius qui vient de tomber. Il y a Pix qui essaye de revenir mais il a plus de vie.
Il hardade, il mérite.
Il est mort Pix, le pauvre. Il était encerclé. Oh, parce qu'ils sont en genre 3, hein. Ils peuvent faire la différence hein, par leur nombre. Hein. La top sum de Maniluka. Perspective, bien joué. 3v2.
Oh, je crois qu'on pensait ça.
Allez Pixie, découpe-nous sur le grand. Pixie qui récupère un kill. Maniac en 1v2, il joue le blanc. Maniac qui a une gourde.
He cracked one of the players, but is it going to be enough to let Malabuka out-heal Vanya?
Maniac, il a beaucoup de blanc. S'il a pas la storm, il voit plus les jours. Hein. Ça va être un top 1 des mutes encore.
From the aggression and now kind of looking around, Malabuka remembered that chug sprite, that water sprite was still there. They healed in the storm originally.
Top 1 des mythes, bien joué. Les amis le récupérer. Malabuka qui top 1.
Securing that victory royale for game number 2.
Il est bon.
Encore des mythes top 1. Je prenais la game M mythe top 1 et deuxième game la mythe top 1. Bien joué. Hein. C'est Marius qui vient de top 1.
Look, there's a reason they have the most victory royales in the Div Cup finals. They know how to close these matches out. They know how to play the meta, and they did it perfectly throughout this game.
On va voir comment Marius est tombé.
Il
est pas chercher un gars en zone.
On
va avec la bien joué. Hein. Ah ouais, jamais c'est là dessus. Ça pense être kill pour Vaniac.
Just have to feel a little bit there for Malabuka Ping and Walks because when a 140 Chug Jug isn't enough to seal the deal to Kata, then what is? And that's something that only our analysts can answer.
Thank you very much, guys. Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, they're bringing back memories of Major number 1 when they had a fantastic day 1 and they're here to do it
pas
again.
attendre au moins 7-8 minutes. Hein. On va se regarder en vidéo.
Right here. Tease. I don't have anything to save me if I die.
Je suis en 1080.
Cracks.
Ouh. 720. 1080. Carrément.
Damn it, bro.
400. Ah non. 1400 carrément.
Oh, it pulls outwards.
I'm looking a little bit bum on mats.
Same.
Just stay up here for a little bit, then shock in really late. Gonna go through my chug.
Might be dead.
Cracked on the right side.
Dead.
Nice. Claiming the house.
I got mats. I got mats. It's a 2v2. 2v2. Pop in and make it. Keep on spraying, bro. Nice. Dead.
Crack. Nice.
Dead. 160.
Putain.
You need to go down. You need to find a way to go down.
He's stuck. Nice. Let's go.
Give me like 2
Oh my god, he's won. I fried him.
Bah, attends, mais Starfla, hein. C'est quoi, mon PC, il a un problème.
C'est quoi?
No hammer.
Mais frère, dans chaque truc que j'y vais, la langue c'est allemand, frère.
Bro, I just keep on tagging these kids.
Ah voilà, c'est
Oh my.
bon.
60
Tu es bien en pistolet, hein.
Qui, moi? Merci.
Oh. Cracked. It's a free kill. Dead.
I just had my shockwave cancelled.
Ouais, regarde. Il est là.
Pretty much everyone's a solo, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. 8 teams left. With 11.
Yeah, true. One's dead.
Yeah, honestly, I just wait until you're at, like, very back end zone, just shock it. You can just keep doing that. You don't need to do that. You need to refresh now.
It's no height. This kid's going through it.
You see the man pump in someone. Nice.
C'est quoi sur le rectif? T'es perdu, mec, sur le rectif.
Okay, you're talking about awareness check. That guy needs new headphones or some shit.
Oh, I can connect.
Nice. One duo left. Everyone else is solo. I'd shoot people's crash pads out as well, instead of just going for the mammoth shot. Zero mats. Nice. New grab.
It's all solos.
Yeah, I go ulti. You're the mats. Just PG if anyone strucks up and takes it. Nice.
He's dead to storm.
Get in.
He's dead to storm. Nice.
Tricky. Oh, I was so close. Don't rush us. Fucking winners.
Cracked. $40 white.
These guys they are. Don't let them spray.
I'm the best. I'm so good. 90 crack? What the? Wait, is this a solo? I think this is solo.
No, let's do it now.
150? Oh, these kids are droids.
This entire lobby's droid, bro.
Dead. Cool, Sean.
Toujours pas repris.
Playing all different facets of the game, low, mid, and high, so they have all that in their locker, and it seems like everything seems to be coming together right now for them. Just the way they're able to play Storm Surge that we broke down at the beginning of today, and I mean that end game from these guys, absolutely unreal. The way that iDrop was able to survive for so long was great, and just the amount of eliminations that they were able to get was just so good for them.
Yeah, so much firepower in this team. I mean, look. Myself and many other people in the community sort of felt like this team's.
Donc ça commence dans 2 minutes 30, on va regarder les classements. On va actualiser ça. Premier high drop, 64 points. Malibika deuxième, 143. Ils sont descendus en troisième place, 127. Ouais, ils ont pas fait une grosse game, hein. Ils sont morts top combien? Ils sont morts top 16, ils sont morts avec 2 kills. Ouais. Top 5 Marius. Majid Savage top 8, Sarah. Camille c'est ici top 9. Top 10 Thomas acheté, Vico Veno top 11. Ouais, ils ont pas fait une grosse game aussi, ils sont morts en late. Hein. C'est top 12. Top 15 DFR skill se rattrape sur deuxième game. Lecture top 19, compliqué. Et Kirakwama, 24 points. J'espère qu'ils vont remonter. Hein. Shark Trudex, c'est compliqué, 16 points. Sharppenny, 12 points. Et après, voilà.
From veterans, that's what we expect from top talent in Wox and Ping. I want to see it continue game after game here.
Yeah, and to be honest, the way they played this game, it would be a win more often than not, right? In maybe 8 out of the 10 games, you'd probably win that game. The team on Hype wouldn't have, I think Vanya had like, what, 2 of those med miss. He had another chug, he had splashes. Like, it was just an absolute madness that he had up there in terms of heals. So I think the way they played that game was absolutely perfect. They just got to keep getting there. They just got to keep getting to that stage, and sat in second place right now, looking really good and showing us what they can do, which they haven't necessarily shown us what they can do in the last few weeks.
Do you have any concerns, though, Mini Minor, about this trio, despite the performance they've had so far?
I think
the only way that I would be a little bit concerned is the fact that they are already qualified to globals, so they might take a bit of a back seat, as Levin mentioned at the beginning of the show. You know, Malibuca's had that, of course, previously. I think last year it was Malibuca and Mustache winning, and then the next major they got like 6th, so it wasn't like an amazing sort of comeback of form for them. I don't expect them to drop all the way down, though. I think they're going to keep up what they're doing.
Well, it was an interesting game number 2, especially as we saw some of our big name trios, Veno's trio and Queasy's trio in particular, go down in the mid game. So let's see if they can pick themselves back up again and give us the game 3 we deserve as we head back to Takata and Taco.
Comment je peux télécharger une image?
Everybody is
Oh, mais
going
je
to
suis
be
pire.
on super high alert because of what Vico, Veno, and Flixie have done throughout the course of the first 2 matches, Takata. But we are approaching the halfway point of day 1, match 3, nearly underway, and I'm excited to get into it.
Moi, troisième game là qui va bientôt commencer. Match quoi?
T'as dit quoi?
Moi j'ai rien dit.
Team, are they gonna just keep going back and forth? Are they gonna do a new spot every time? All I know is that the battle bus is ready, the engine started up, so let's get right into game number 3.
Surely they pay Fredoxy's team a visit at least once.
Come on.
I don't care if it's today. It's gotta be sometime though between today and tomorrow, or I'm just gonna be shell-shocked. Because Mass Meadows is really where all of this started. Queasy having, I think, a little bit of influence over this outcome currently too for the map, is because he was the one that actually coached Fredoxy's team throughout the Last Chance qualifiers, just paying back a huge favor from the previous season, and Fredoxy having taken the time to help out Queasy and Thomas when they were teamed up, doing a little bit of off-spawn practice. But that's neither here nor there. Can't get too caught up in the past, because right now, Mr. Savage, Vadil, and Reason, they've got a whole mess to deal with at the Big Ben top, as is expected.
Non, Savage ils ont dodge.
Chap,
Parce
Tayson,
qu'en fait.
everybody kind of just trying to find
Oh,
their
Fix ça
footing.
tombe du côté des FR.
Squee overhead.
Supposé qu'il récupère un kill, Koda qui tombe.
Might only be mere seconds before they clash, and Tayson just trying to keep himself protected, just trying to make sure he's united with Chicho and Atris. Doesn't want any unexpected blows early on.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of this kind of fight conclude early on. Normally both trios have been making it out. In terms of Vico, Benno, Flixie though. I'm hoping it's not just Vico. Okay, all three of them are good. It looks like they're kind of playing more of the split route, and then from the split, you know, third party, whichever team is fighting it out. But looks like they're back closer to Outlaw once again, but haven't started the third party yet.
Yet being the key word here, because we know that they love to get scrappy. They've already done so in the past 2 lobbies. They were able to open up with huge 3-piece eliminations successfully in each of those lobbies. But you want to keep that ball rolling, and considering that they had an early spill in the last match, Takata, that's the last thing that they want to repeat. And Flixie, if he's not careful, just one receiving end to warning shots. Focus, Yanis for Strokey. They are closing in.
It's like what, 4 or 5
trios.
Mais non, là, je fais un autre truc.
Clusters, you know, trying to find areas where you have a good opportunity to kind of take shots at each other, but this is like a whole party, and I don't think these players want to take that on so quickly into this match. So although Focus with Strokey and Yanis got some good tags onto Vico, Benno, and Flixie, they're not going to continue pushing through. They saw the danger that entails.
Just would have been a self-sabotage if they actually kept trying to pressure Benno, Vico, Flixie. From the approach that they're making,
voilà,
way too many teams in the distance, just like we knew. A little bit less flooded though at Flooded Frogs. Vanya, Marius, Pixie, trying to make quick work of their off spawn, just building up their loot path and wanting to see if they can be a reoccurring theme to find those Victor Royales in this Major 2 finals.
Going back into Vico, Benno, Flixie in Crime City. Looks like they're going to be opening up the vault here. I'm trying to see, yeah,
Ils ont mis le feu à Benno.
that one slide too easily.
Ils ont mis quoi?
Le feu là, ce que tu utilises là.
You want to go to
Au
areas
coffre.
where there already is a trio
Le feu là.
Oh.
to be kind of that third one.
Ça n'est pas ça, wesh. Il y a beaucoup de dégâts.
Just one shot away from getting
Et
knocked
le
down.
coffre.
Flixie makes it into the vault, and that was a close one.
Chaque qui est pas décidé derrière c'est le coffre. Hein.
One slide.
Just because you're in the vault, though, doesn't mean that you're actually going to be able to make it out. And Vico, he's relatively hurt. But sure, Benno, Flixie, Vico, they might have the benefit for the time being of controlling the vault, but they might actually just find themselves trapped unless Faded, Moneymaker, and F9 have something to say about it. They could potentially force Chapsky and Teeny away from this location inside of Crime City's vault, but Chap does not want to let Venno's team wiggle their way out of this one. Even if there's pressure spilling in from elsewhere, they are determined to stick around and see that they can get some damage done onto Venno's team, if not successfully eliminating them.
I like how it's not even Taysen's trio. That's kind of like around here. It's Moneymaker's trio. Taysen's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'll let you guys do your thing. I'm gonna continue on with my route.
Oh là là, mais j'ai tout
It's also how they
cassé.
let Vico, Benno, and Flixie make it out of the vault. Decided, you know, you can only wait so long.
No, they're trying to be so careful. They know this is too good to be true, if it usually is. In that scenario, this Vico, a couple of shots being fired, F9, Moneymaker, Faded. They want to close in. Issues definitely continuing to build though. Now checking in with Magic Mosses, Darm, Pix, Demus. They love utilizing the black market at Magic Mosses, but it could potentially come at a price they're not willing to pay just yet. Recognizing that cringe Volko Kiddo a little bit faster to the punch.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it before. They tend to get like these really big games or kind of mid games, right? Got 27th, game 1, 4th, game 2. So we'll see if Demus, Storm, and Pix can kind of figure out what's going wrong. But the leaders of the pack, Mini Miner with a smile on his face, I drop Sky and Scroll, getting a bit of that fire once again, like Levin was alluding to. But you know, in this part of the game, they're not taking those risks. They're
la
just
merde,
taking shots
Ouais, ils ont
where they see
3
them. And I don't think we'll kind of see them get into an engagement here.
It's not the first time that we've seen this trio leading on the placements for a leaderboard in a major finals, but holding it is a completely separate conversation, and that's something that they're going to have.
Ouah, Sky vient de se faire découper, wesh. Pas le droit d'être la petite pop de Sky là, il vient de prendre une dinguerie, wesh.
I've been looking at the sky too long or something. I don't know what went wrong.
Sky vient de prendre une dinguerie, Sky.
Probably happy he's not getting turbo
Qu'est-ce
key
que
for
j'ai
it. That
fait,
could change
frère?
though on a moment's notice. All of these teams in their surge bases, it's almost like a facade of a safety net, because you would think that teams wouldn't be willing to get up close and personal, but when you get massive tags like that, it's
Vico qui fight, qui
almost
récupère un kill.
impossible to not want to get more directly involved. It's Vico, Veno, Flixie, Crime City. This is a very familiar background for them, and getting that initial elim onto Faded is definitely gonna help out with their current
drop son
predicament.
kit, Vico.
They're still having to deal with Chap and Tina.
Nice.
Svi revisiting Fanai Moneymaker, also trying to make sure that they can play for a little
Ouais,
bit of
3 teams
backup.
qui restent ici, wesh.
Even
3
if
teams,
they're
wesh.
a little bit split, it won't necessarily
Non,
prevent
c'est
them
de la
from
merde.
completely engaging with this fight.
I mean, the good news is they do have that black market close by. They have the
Putain, mais
option to
comment on
kinda
fait, frère?
get some heals, but in the meantime, you don't want to like fully
La
take these
sneaky sur
fights.
le
They got the
Moneymaker.
knock, with a trio and a duo in the surrounding area, you know. Not too worth it, but Team Chap and Skinny might want to capitalize on that now
Non,
that they're left
je veux pas la
alone.
plus de batterie, ma souris.
Levin was talking about this. Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstash, they have this kind of mountain they like to play on a little south of Seaport, and a perfect pull to continue there. It opens up the option to kind of, you know, take shots at all the trios that have to rotate through the south side of the map, even a little southeast.
Ça va être qu'il récupère un kill.
Typically, you'd see teams trying to surge base on the north and south sides of Seaport to just fully control the flow of the lobby, but they're just exclusively directing their focus towards that southern border. They want to prevent any teams from having those
3v2 qui
freer
ont engagé.
rotates, and they know that they can stick around. Got fishing options if need be. And other teams just looking to utilize those black markets instead. Reason could use a
Merde,
little
je
bit of
peux
help
encore
here
espoir
dealing
de
with
ne pas tomber.
Twine.
Nice,
So
récupère le
immediately
kill.
the deal looks to play back up, but Mr. Savage also making sure that they can finish what they started. And Twy, Hollow, they've definitely been off to a rough start here today.
It's like a constant hunt, right? It's like Mr. Savage, Verdil, and Reason. You know, they didn't want to be contested,
Yeah,
but when
he
they were,
tombé.
they're like, okay, we're gonna fight. It doesn't matter if we don't do it in the early game. We're gonna
Ouais,
fight
j'avoue,
you.
c'était un
And
très
it's
très
clearly
bon
going
stuff.
their
Hein.
way. Even if they end up
On va
taking their
replay.
eliminations a little later on, I mean, they still get the job done. As iDrop has gone down, our leading trio. Was it just iDrop? Is Sky and Scroll still looking good? We'll have to see kind of how they're able to come back if they even have the chance to. Pink.
Find out next time. Observer POV scans back over, but they're not the only ones dealing with a little bit of a predicament. Pump Power, Demon's Dojo, split smack dab in the center of the action.
Randy qui
Pink,
récupère un
Judo,
kill.
Nebs, and Pink, he's got a lot of faith in his teammates. Kudo, distinctly, the fact that Pink would put him in such high regard and just constantly gassing up his trio mate, that's a lot of confidence to instill.
Pa-pa-da-da.
Could go a long ways for them here, dealing with Volko, Kudo, Cringe, Volko, trying to see if he can get something started. Cringe,
Et je crois que ça commence dans 20 minutes. Hein.
just
Je veux pas.
waiting for Nebs to overpeak
Hein?
for a moment. He might
Hein?
be able
Et
to
chauffe-toi si
approach
tu regardes pas, ça
from
commence dans 20
line of
minutes. Hein.
sight.
Faut qu'il récupère un kill sur le tir.
Careful, but Pink, he's gonna be the real one under
Pink
duress
is
here.
a
Pink
hot-
forced to drop immediately, but Cringe, Volko, they weren't able to finish him off. And that's gonna allow Pink a moment to just reunite with the rest of his team.
Pink had a rough start to 2025. It would be nice to see him you know, have a great performance here in the major finals. They're already doing a decent job in 7th place, so all they have to do is kind of hold on in these early to mid games and keep getting to those lates. As we look at one of the most, if not the most consistent trios throughout the day today. Malabuka, Ping, and Walks. Levin mentioned it. I mean, they're already qualified to the Global Championship alongside Vico, Benno, and Flixi, but they are still showing why they ended up qualifying in just the first major of the year.
Hey, Lone Wolf might not have a black market, but it does have a vault and plenty of resources to kind of build off of. That is for sure the intention behind Malabuka's team. iDrop, Sky, and Scroll, though, all back together yet again. So successful rescue mission by Sky and Scroll. iDrop definitely going to be happy to be back in action with his teammates, but they've got a lot of heavy lifting to do here, Takada. They are so far out in Storm, and even if they're able to make a pass next to that backwards black market, they're still so far behind on Surge now compared to what they'd probably started off with.
I got faith though. I mean, starting off so strong with matches, you know, that big, it gives you a good kind of motivation boost moving into the next ones. A good bit of confidence if you have to take those fights.
Ils vont sauter sur son après, ils enlèvent la peau en
In
plus.
front of them to Storm. If they have the right timing, they might be able to
Sans
make something happen.
sur la rota, il avait drop dessus.
Starting off the day, they were pulling all the zones, but in game 2, they weren't quite
Il se
able
passerait en fait, il se passerait pour la
to put on the performance that they would have wanted to. So hopefully now they can kind of fix up their mistakes.
You will never be able to convince me that Seti, Kami, and Hari aren't a leading favorite, though, when they are uncontested and in a competitive meta that prioritizing dealing with these surge bases. These guys are potent as ever. And Kami, he's just gonna focus up on making sure that they've got more than enough mats, more than enough materials to work with for wherever they decide to rotate next. Hardy and
mettre sur l'île là. Kurama du côté des FR même.
Il y a quoi, Rouya?
Ça joue l'île du côté des FR. Là, il s'arrête pas kill. Je ne suis pas tombé du côté d'Akira. Nice, ce Kido. Oh, ça a pris une dinguerie. Hein. Le bot s'est énervé, dit que vous faites là, je... Attention le hit du bot, c'est le bot qui peut faire mal. Hein.
The Shogun 1v3 would be crazy.
Je pense qu'il a fait
We can see a replay of how this kicked off though. Huge
Ah,
shot on
sneaky,
just kind of gave them that upper hand in the fight.
Exil.
But Vico, Benno, Flixi once
Il est
again.
tombé. Ouf, Exil qui a peut-être tombé. Sa box, il est mort. Benno qui était venu, mais aïe aïe, ça va être compliqué l'all-in, mais il pourra rien faire. Hein. Aïe aïe, c'est compliqué pour le trio Benno, Vico, Flexion.
Ouais, à quoi?
Ah, ils sont mal, hein.
Oh.
But what's crazy is that this started off in Crime City, and now Chaptini, they actually chased out Venom's trio all the way to the likes of Lone Wolf Lair, and it might just be
FNCS, ça va pas, ils vont pas les gagner, hein, ces FNCS, hein, ça va être compliqué. Hein.
They are clearly on the hunt for a little bit of additional surge damage, if not just getting that
Nice, le box, nice, ça fait kill.
just not healthy enough to match it.
En fait, le problème, tu vois, en lane, tu vois, ils sont jamais ensemble, tu vois, quand ils fight, tu vois, ils sont jamais ensemble.
That is already a massive win for Chapentini, as now they leave Lone Wolf with 7 eliminations, but they want to bring Skvi back into this.
Yeah, and they'll be able to do exactly that. I mean, they cleaned up that fight.
Ouais, c'est sur ça.
Basically.
Dalle de pour pas travers. Hein.
Finished up the previous one quickly, but this is huge for Chaptini and Skvi. They're looking like they're in a kind of rough spot to play out this tournament, but they're making the best out of it. And it looks like Namzawa, Hollow, and Twy are now at Seaport. They did kind of have that battle against Mr. Savage in the early game. I mean, at least 2 of them went down, but having to go against Mr. Savage into Queasy shortly after, this is
L'achat qui tombe, Dixie qui tombe
not really
parfois
the
à mort.
position you want to be in.
This is exactly what Queasy's team was after. They opt to stick around so often inside the storm because they know we can play the dead side rotate, we can play the wraparound angles, and we can also look to punish teams that are playing for the reboot inside the storm. Twy, Noms, just more bodies being added to the count here. Swizzy, Moustache, and Queasy will now have the luxury of picking which direction they head next. Because Hollow has been capitalized on.
Désolé qui tape du 2, hein. Queasy qui va tomber. Ça prend un storm fort ici. Et ça tranquille. Sky qui va peut-être tomber. Ah, il prend un storm en plus. Sortir de là. Aïe aïe aïe. Non.
They gotta be careful. Sky's already fully cracked.
Et Sky pour ceux qui sont sortis.
Try and finish focus off. There's more trios in the surrounding area. They're dead
Pas trop pourquoi ils sortent les fights comme ça. Ils devraient sortir. Hein. Ah, Sky qui va tomber. Hein.
But as Sky gets knocked, Scrow's left alone. It's gonna be impossible to bring them back in the game. This is not an ideal situation for the number one trio in the lobby right now.
One step forward, 2 steps back. They might have been able to get the reboot off onto iDrop, but you don't get to pick and choose your fights after that. When you are so low on Surge, even with the eliminations they did gather, they were just so incredibly low there, Takata. Be very surprised to see them make something out of that scenario. In comparison to a trio like Malibuka, Walks, and Ping, just chilling at Magic Mosses, currently in a position that could look to definitely control who actually gets to go in and out of this backwards black market.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting depending on where this zone pulls as well for this late game, how close the black market is. It's interesting how many trios are still, you know, outside the zone despite getting closer and closer to that 7th zone where storm damage is 5 ticks per second. They know that there's got to be those trios that are playing zone kind of making their way in now.
Scroll has nowhere left to run though.
He's
just trying to pick off whatever shots he can. But when you're gazing out into the distance as a solo in 7th zone of all places, Takata, it is so difficult to actually try and convert this into anything more than maybe a handful of extra placement points. And already
Ok, on lui monter, il se fait arracher, il va prendre la storm. Oh, il arrive à le pousser. Il lâche plus. Oh, il arrive à le knock. Wesh. Oh, dommage. Wesh, le coup de genou.
Even gets slide knocked in the first place.
That is insane to knock off your opponent like that.
Wesh, il a mis un coup de genou, il a volé, wesh.
His teammates were there. Not too much
Ouais,
trouble
devant le
so far.
It's gonna delay them though.
Ouais, du côté de ça, mais ça peut passer une énorme game là sur leur monter en classement. Camille qui fait le knock comeback.
Now, in terms of high ground, Mr. Savage here, right under, I believe, Queasy's whole trio here. They're playing for that 8th zone.
Sur right, on a Squeezie, Moustache et Queasy.
Will it pull towards them?
Est-ce qu'on n'aurait pas allé chasser 2 amis du côté de leur
so far,
de ce trio là?
Do enough damage and be ready for whatever happens when that 8th zone appears.
So long as Queasy is in a lobby, much less a finals lobby, you can never expect height to be a guarantee for anyone who isn't Queasy. Moustache, Swizzy, keeping tabs on the flanks, trying to ensure that the direction that they choose to head next is completely cleared out.
Now,
Getting
15th in the last match. He is still leading the whole lobby in terms of damage. Almost 3,000 damage, 2nd place at 2,400 being Moustache. I mean, this guy does not miss. 300 above already. They've got that elimination, but Reason is gone down. Savage and Vidil.
Non, vas-y, faut pas tomber. Aïe, 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 aïe. Ça va être un solo chose qui prend la pression. Waouh! Ouais, ça va, il est mort. Storm qui tape en plus, ouais. Si Tenny est mort par Tenny. Moi je sais pas trop ce qui s'est passé, c'est plutôt pas mal. On va avoir un petit replay. Ah ouais, c'est mort, ils sont mieux les découper. Sur les zones.
and continuing his aggression onto
Même le
Vadil.
Brésil, là il est peu.
That didn't leave Mr. Savage anywhere to
Mais donc, tu veux faire
aside from into the hands
la cup? Tu veux la faire, la cup?
Bon, on fait quelques games pour voir ça se passe comment. Sauf
Trying to
que...
take advantage of a lot of the confusion that was starting to build. But overhead on the bridge, cranking up, Cammy wants a little piece of the pie here. When the height conversation starts to take place, this is definitely one of our teams that can heavily threaten Queasy.
Not only did the
Oui, je finis cette game, après je me cours.
Savage, but they ended up fighting, like you said, talking
Oh,
about
Dieu.
Cammy said and Harry to kind of
Oh,
take
regarde.
that high
Le
position
cadavre
once again,
de-
similar to game one, but they have used quite a bit of materials. They might want a pullback to be able to hold this on all the way to the last moving zone, but Pixie, Marius, and Vanya are trying to maybe even chop them down here. They're so close to doing so, this could kind of disrupt them, not only
Est-ce qu'il y a encore des effets rendus ou
positioning,
pas?
but cause them to use a lot more materials once again.
Cammy Seti and Hari, they know.
Mais ça vient tomber, ça tombe.
Keep control of those teams in your
Shark.
On aurait dit
Putain.
tranquille.
Malabuka walks, ping, but they're not looking
Baby
to let up the
shark.
pressure anytime soon either. Just
Nice, ça profite sur Kiro.
taking out Keto.
Sur Keiro.
All eyes focused
Nice.
onto Tini now.
Oui, il tombe.
He's just under so much heavy fire. The focal point of Malabuka's trio. But Malabuka gonna close off their backside and now continue.
Oh,
to
Luke
target
City était
his
sur
way
ce raid.
forward. Doesn't want to get caught in congestion. Mustache and Sweezy though, they've lost Queasy.
Bon, on lance le
il est
petit
mortel.
Fortnite. On lance le petit Fortnite. Non, ton ça, est-ce qu'on lance le
Nice,
petit
non,
Fortnite?
ça tu découpes ce haut.
Oh putain, il est bon le gamin.
Très bien voulu avoir ce niveau.
Ah,
Très bien voulu avoir ce niveau. Ça, ça comme des
mais
matchs.
bien sûr. Direct.
Camille sur ce raid, c'est la panique de Thomas G.
Going at it, they're able to clean up a good amount of eliminations as Thomas HD with the free edits looking to see if they can even
Top
pick
12.
up a refresh. Just 11 builds onto Thomas now. Zone pulling slightly up this hill. So many trios stuck down below. It opens up that option to kind of take shots on the ones especially low on shield.
Le gars qui va tomber.
It's going to pull towards boxcars so they don't have to keep elevating themselves.
C'est de Marie, je l'ai sur le 80 de la storm.
Cammy City Harry doing an amazing job of maintaining height, and Marius Vanya Pixie now ahead of the zone.
But Marius and Pixie,
Camille se fait mettre la pression. La panique de Marius.
on their damage, no longer a concern though. The lobby is thinning out at a rapid rate here. Seti gonna be the first one to drop. Cammy Hardy still overhead. Seti now looking to see if he can find a point of connection, and Cammy directly overhead.
Bon, ça, tu vas
just
tomber.
continuing to ensure
Ah,
that
celui de
no
gratter.
Ultra and Poland up top. They want their Polska Gura moment, that's for sure.
Van Mat.
Swizzy, barely any HP left to work with. A singular
Ah,
tag.
je pense pas qu'il pourra faire grand chose. Hein. Nice. Ouais, il a knock Kurama. Ah, il est bloqué. Il est bloqué là, parce qu'il y a eu la régène. Il repart à la zone. Nice, 200, bien joué sur Akira. S'il fait top 1, son coach va rentrer dans l'histoire. Hein. Il va descendre, nice. Van Mat. Oh, mec, il touche. C'est Marius, hein. Ah, dommage, il va taper top 5. Près de 6 kills, c'est peut-être surprendre quelqu'un. Mais Kevin sur Vox, dommage, faut sortir de là, on a 2 HP. Ici qui a un HP nice avec Star Kill. Toujours Camille sur ce raid. Mais trop bon, on va sûrement chercher cette win. Et Manibuka qui prend encore un kill sur Chino. Récupérer la gourde pour le hit-blanc, nice. Un stream, un duo et un solo. Je sais pas le solo il est où, dans la zone. 3v2. C'est qui va le griller. C'est qui met mal en face. Hein. Il va remonter. 10 de batte.
They're gonna need a insane heal off for Walks if he wants
Donc
to come
top 1, il
out.
remonte et c'est le top 1.
For Cammy, Seti, and Hari, all
Bien
they
joué.
had to do was capitalize on it, and they have done it. I love to see a victory royale from this trio so early on. They didn't perform to expectations in Major 1. They've been the most consistent trio throughout the Divisional Cup finals here in Major 2. Finally getting a finals uncontested, and now being able to take home the win in Game 3. This is exactly what we've been waiting for.
And a statement game as well from Cammy, Seti, and Hardy. They had been building for it all throughout the course of this endgame, just steadily keeping full control, suppressing the low ground layers, suppressing the mid ground layers, not allowing anybody to actually try and threaten their position. And they still had the heals if they needed them, Takada. And it's just a matter of time, though, before Walks had to surface a clean victory royale at that for Poland. But
Donc on va juste faire des déplacements pour se connecter pour être skin.
I think I need to ask a quick question actually. Mini Minor, what day of the grand finals is it?
Ah, ça va donner quoi? Si ça se passe pas très bien, on va revenir.
Ouais. Ah, tu vas faire sur TikTok?
Non, pas, je vais rester sur YouTube.
T'as raison, ça.
Ou pour que ce Malibuka qui prenne la première place, 237 points. Non, c'était à 207. Pixie 3ème. Camille qui sont remontés à 4ème. Hein. Sky top 5. Akira, Kurama qui remonte top 13, pas mal, il fait une bonne game. Biko qui descend top 14, c'est compliqué. Vas-y, je lance mon jeu.
Vas-y.
Vas-y,
Même moi, là, je vais lancer
trois
juste.
games, là.
Tac.
Il reste 3 games là pour ce soir. Là.
Comment ça, 3 games?
De quoi? Il reste 3 games là pour la vue là.
Ah ouais. Voilà, c'est bon, je lance.
Qui a fait une petite vidéo.
Une petite vidéo. Oh lolo.
Vas-y, c'est Corbeau.
C'est Corbeau et aujourd'hui
Bah,
dans cette
donne-moi
vidéo,
nous.
je vais tout simplement réagir aux meilleurs clips des abonnés. Vous avez été énormément envoyé vos clips dans mon serveur Discord. Avant qu'on se regarde ça, n'hésitez pas à liker, à vous abonner et enfin le plus important, à vous rendre dans boutique d'objets, à cliquer sur soutenir un créateur et enfin rentrer le petit code créateur.
Mec, mets-le son code créateur.
Ouh.
Pourquoi tu mets pas son code créateur, regarde? Tu es la famille.
Vas-y, mets-toi en Amérique centrale.
Attends, bon, juste voir un truc. J'ai lancé le jeu. Mais je dois vendre.
T'es là, c'est bon?
Ouais, moi je suis là, regarde, t'inquiète pas.
Nous invite.
Comment on m'appelle? On m'appelle. Tu es la famille. Tu es la famille. Ah ouais? Contre donc. Amérique du Nord. Bon, voilà. C'est bon. C'est bon ce carré. Oh, regarde. Tu sais. Tu es la famille.
Ah ouais?
Oh, voilà. Non, j'ai juste le petit chronien là, tu vois.
Ça fait un écho. C'est carrément de la discussion. Tac. Vas-y, vous essayez de faire un bon truc en vrai. Hein. Non?
Vas-y.
Il y a combien de ping? Ouais, il y a 110, 120 de ping, ouais, ça va être chaud. Ah.
Waouh, moi j'ai. Ah ouais, moi j'ai encore plus que toi, regarde. Mais moi j'ai quand même, mais j'ose pas te dire, en fait. Tu vois ça qui m'aide.
Moi je pense que t'as 150, je pense, non?
C'est trop sympa, mec.
Quoi, t'as plus? Wesh.
Ouais.
Non, c'est possible, wesh. T'as combien?
T'es sûr que tu as ça, regarde?
Vas-y, dis.
Oh, j'ai 200.
Wesh, comment c'est possible? C'est pas possible, t'as 200 piges.
Attends.
Wesh. 200 piges. Moi je devrais pas dépasser les 200, mais c'est pas possible. Mais là. Wow.
Mec, j'ai juré, je l'aurais tué, ils sont trop gays. Comment je l'aurais tué? Juste, en fait, tu sais, j'avais une l'arme de merde, là. En fait, il me manquait des balles, des munitions. J'ai juré, je vais aller me venger. Je vais aller me venger ou pas?
Toi, tu vas te venger?
Oh wow. Ils sont des enfin guet-apens.
Bah, ils t'ont attrapé, hein.
Ah, c'est bon. J'arrive. Et eux aussi, c'est des gars, ils sont trop gays. C'est des gars trucs là. Ils sont pas ouf. Hein. Ah non, j'ai 180.
Je suis à 300 kills. Wesh.
Oh, regarde. C'est une connexion de merde. Juste, j'espère que c'est pas des gars NA, hein, parce que j'ai vu des gars gaze, mais eux, frère.
T'es bien ou pas?
Ouais, regarde. Normal.
Déjà, je commence à avancer sur rien.
Moi, je vais pompe qui spam, ça arrange, je t'ai pas fait vraiment, regarde.
Ah ouais? Non, pas plus qui spam, c'est trop étanche.
Non, mais tu sais, je prends l'autre là, le gros, le long. Ouais, ça va. Fais gaffe, hein, Vas-y, je suis derrière. Bon, t'es un peu loin de moi, regarde. Je trouve un peu ma tête.
Y'a pas un endroit pour monter ici?
Ah là, viens. Là à gauche. Get up, on le fait. Viens, mon copain. Il est en bas?
Non. Ah ouais. T'as bougé, hein.
Ouais.
Y'a un mec qui spawn, t'es chaud le shot?
Bah, je peux pas.
Pourquoi tu peux pas?
Vas-y, shoot, hein. J'arrive.
Pas touché.
Ouais, bon, je vais le toucher. Il est où?
Il a atterri.
28. Allez, viens, on va le faire. On se fait un petit flip. Bien joué. Il y a encore un gars en l'air, je mettrai lui. Et un gars en arrière, vite.
Y'a un gars qui a spawn sur toi, non?
Ouais.
J'arrive.
Mort.
Nice.
Oh, il y a que des gars qui spawnent, je vais tous les Allemands en l'air. Oh, ce gars, il est où? Il est là-bas.
Crac, mon sang. Mort. Allez, Manu, en l'air, tu peux.
Elles sont pètes.
Attends, j'ai pas de vision.
27, lui.
26. Il est 26.
Tranquilo. Eh, faut tuer les gars en l'air, hein, c'est des free kills.
Ah ouais.
Faut profiter de cette merde. Ça, pour l'instant, les gars, ils sont gays. Mec, un gars m'a même pas mis une balle quand je les rush.
Derrière moi. Ouais, ça c'est des bons joueurs. Enfin, ouais, je te meurs, viens pas. Ouais, viens pas.
Ils savent jouer.
Ouais, c'est le jeu. T'as un space en plus carrément, enfin c'est...
Au par ici, ça se cache, frère.
Bon, je prends une rafale dans la tête. Je suis mort, hein, c'est de tempo. Rafale dans la tête.
On s'en deux. C'est des gars blonds, c'est ça que t'as tué?
Non, il s'est fourni, le mec qui me fait. Mais quoi se passe?
Est-ce qu'ils ont une robe blonde? Tu sais, c'est une meuf.
Non, c'est un garçon. C'est deux gars. Ils sont devant moi, ils sont
Derrière toi.
Ils sont en fight, là, ils sont là-bas.
Derrière toi, frère. Je te dis, derrière toi. Je te dis, hein. Oh, ils sont là, putain.
Là, je me pose là sur le bas. Ah, tu gères?
Attends. Mort. Crac. Deux crack. Mort.
Oui.
Oh, je les en fais deux. Oh. Oh, je sais pas comment je les ai en V2. Les gars, ils étaient les deux sur moi, je les ai tués. Pompe tactique le meilleur, frère. J'ai juré, tu vois, prof au jeu. Je les ai enculés, frère.
Moi, il s'est à travers.
Vas-y, viens, y'a full loot, Bien, je rigole.
C'est la preuve de l'expérience, je suis mort à travers des walls. Y'a un mec, hein.
Gros, c'est rempli de loot, frère. Viens, t'as cramponneur, t'as tout.
Là, j'essaie de venir. Hein. Y'a un mec à côté de toi. Viens, t'es sûr? Vas-y, je suis là.
Il nous rush. Là, y'a un cramponneur, prends. Prends le pompe tactique, tu l'as pris. Là, y'a un loot aussi.
T'as une mini, non?
Ah, y'a un loot d'un gars, gros du brave, il a. Ah, ils sont là, frère, ils sont trop gays. Pense dans vite, vite.
Attends, je peux prendre la gourde ou pas?
Ils savent pas jouer, c'est des EU.
Tranquille, c'est bon, tranquille, on s'en fout. Tranquille, non?
Bah, je me fight là, regarde. Mort.
Nice.
L'autre il est toujours caché, je l'ai mis blanc.
Là, je vais dessus.
Tu le rush?
Ouais. Salut, Enzo. Moi, tu vois, il est dans le bot, là, il est caché dedans. Avance, c'est pas grave. Il est dans le bot, là.
Oh, je les ai enculés, frère. Trop chaud, mec. Oh putain, ils sont bons, ces salopes. Oh! Oh putain, j'ai jamais vu des pépés. Oh gros, il y a des gars comme ils sont bons, frère. Oh, sale fils de...
Il est sur toi.
Ouais. Oh là là, si je survis, je mange la plus grosse merde d'Abu Dhabi. Non. Je bouge plus. Je ne bouge plus, regarde. J'ai un HP pile poil. Je n'existe sur cette terre.
Tiens, je te lâche ma gourde, tu vois.
Oh mon dieu, frère. T'as une répulse?
Non.
Ok, on est bien. On est très très bien. Là.
Il y a un mec qui vient de sortir. On
Ouais,
va aller jouer,
ah,
je pense. Dès qu'il joue, faut qu'on se bat.
Vas-y, ouvre.
J'ai en bas, j'en bas.
Non, tu m'as niqué.
Ils vont peut-être le shoot derrière, de toute façon.
Putain, la zone, faut faire le marathon, frère. Y'a un matelas,
Vas-y, prends-le. 29. Crac, un PV. Un PV. Ah, il a un PV aussi. Il meurt pas, lui.
Ouais. Y'a un gars sur toi.
Ouais, j'ai vu.
Non. Oui, c'est bon, je l'ai eu.
Moi, je shot le mec de derrière, il est lourd. Ah, bah là, non. Mais c'est mec qui prend des balades blancs, c'est aberrant.
Oh putain, voilà, j'ai perdu un HP. Si je réussis à la prendre, c'est impossible. Ah ouais, voilà, j'étais sûr, non?
Apparaît, vite dire, apparaît.
Oui. Putain, première fois que je suis mort.
Wesh, la zone.
Putain, j'étais full match, trop le seum. Attends, bon, je veux juste pas perdre ça. Non.
Le top 1, top 5 hein. Vas-y, après la game, je t'ajoute. On va ton épique, je t'ajoute. Y'a un mec, comment fait son? Ouais, j'étais un mat de jeu drop dessus comme ça, t'es sûr. Mais moi, ton épique, je t'ajoute après la game.
Donne le mien aussi. Non, je rigole.
Bougeant. Ah, mais nique. Ah, c'est gênant de faire ça. Ah, mais il y en a un autre qui est fini.
Ah,
il avance
top
pas,
4.
non.
Ouais, par contre, ça, il abuse. Allô?
Ah ouais.
Ah ouais, voilà.
Ah ouais, ton épique, Enzo. Pseudo c'est RC Enzo 12. Nickel. C'est bon.
Attends.
Je crois qu'il n'y aura pas de cap, je serai pas en cap. Hein.
Il a dit quoi?
De toute façon, tu verras dans les notifs, t'as la notif, tu verras quand je ferai des game abo, tout ça.
Ah, il y a beaucoup de gens qui te demandent de faire des
Moi, des joueurs.
des PP.
Ouais, des PT, ouais. Mais attends que j'ai du monde en vrai, comme ça, si je fais des PP, ça peut être bien.
T'as dit quoi?
Faudrait jouer au moins 40 personnes, non, ce serait pas mal 40 personnes.
Ouais.
Comme ça, je mets un ski dans le jeu, ça peut être down, ouais.
Ouais, on fait les deux en live, tout. Vas-y, viens, on slurpee. Oh, tu sais comme mon truc de Peter Butt l'a percé là, le shirt.
Ah ouais.
Putain, mais je suis
Ah ouais.
Bon, on a vraiment pas d'inspi hein, pour mettre ce prénom. Non. Mais non, j'ai raté ma balle. Scheiße. Putain. Scheiße.
Ouais, tranquille. Moi, je suis tranquille, j'aurais pas pu jouer là.
Bah après, tu joues après?
Bah, moi après je vais drive. Et après il y a les LA après.
Lesquels?
Bah les LA, des FNCS LA.
Ils ont tous un pompe. Ils ont tous un pompe, c'est ça le... La FNCS ou quoi?
Ouais, la finale, ouais.
Ah, mais tu veux pas jouer la skin?
Non, je vais pas jouer à la skin.
C'est à quelle heure? La finale.
La finale est à 23h la finale. C'est à 2h30.
Vas-y, je viens. Je viens, moi, je suis là.
Ça va?
Ouais, ouais.
19.
Bien joué.
Mon 100.
Bien
Et puis
joué.
maths. 0 de maths. Je suis mort, je pense.
Non. Bien joué.
Ça c'est un Twitch. Twitch Rico ZNN.
Tirage chez eux, c'est 13h là, putain. C'est vraiment 13h. Oh, y'a le gars qui m'a tué, lui, il va me faire un boulet.
C'est safe ou pas?
Ah?
Safe? Ça joue.
Non, non, tranquille.
T'as quelque chose pour bouger, Répus, maintenant, non? Non.
Non. Rien.
Y'a un mec qui drop. Viens, on va le jouer derrière. Nelson.
Bon, là, y'a un truc sur décolle. Oh, mais il est sur moi, vas-y, je vais finir. Oh, putain.
Il arrive encore. Wesh, c'est
Wesh.
Wesh.
C'est pas une merde. Hein.
Ah, tu l'as pas touché?
Oh, ouais.
T'as mis 0 dégâts? Wesh.
Non, frère. Frère, je buguais trop. Je continue?
Bah, c'est mort, c'est fini.
Bah, vas-y, on arrête. Hein.
Vas-y,
Ah, tu
ça,
continues de jouer ou on regarde la finale?
Non, je vais regarder la finale. C'est mort, c'est pour ça possible. La Chine top un 30 au moins pour partir, c'est impossible. C'est bon, je vais aller.
They've essentially gotten their way. They have an
Oh,
uncontested
this
Mass
boat.
Meadows, or at least that's what it appears to be.
Bon, on va rester sur le
Play
pitch.
around the world. Marius trying to keep the dream alive right now, though. Then Miss Grenade also has a water sprite if need be. But Sky, eye drop, and Stroll. That's a team that loves to get up close and personal. That fight
Peut-être rejouer après, je pense. Hein. Mais pas pour
Bah ouais, la même.
C'est monté général, on recharge. Ouais, ah oui, c'est dégoûté.
Continuing to rack up their elimination count.
Ça finit à quelle heure? Ça finit à 21h, je pense.
As we take a look at Cammy
Ah,
City and
21h,
Harry.
23h, peut-être, je vais jouer.
Once again, they've got, their strat planned out. They've had it from the start of the season. Build up, get tagged.
Et c'est 4ème, Marius, c'est dommage.
Possible. And it's been working. I mean, they can get themselves to the late game, but now coming from that victory royale, hopefully, they can continue to push themselves up. They're in 5th despite not doing it so good in the second match.
I like that the From said he's given the high alerts to Hari. Hey, there's a team
T'es
trying to
mort.
tarp their way through our territory. Malabuka's at
Je cherche un peu
that.
la différence.
They're gonna have to be very
Ça va
wary
être chaud.
moving forward. Chap. He's got
Je vais chasser.
Tripper and Hellfire hot on his
Dans les
heels.
toilettes.
Just hoping that he can escape. We're all gonna get him out, but it might just be delaying the inevitable. What Tripper and Hellfire and Strapped wanted, though, was just this Crime City black market.
Chap qui a réussi à
They
se
don't
faire dans la
care
ville.
where Chap is at.
Beno
They
qui
might
fight.
choose to pursue
Je
that
passe une
one
bonne game
later
là,
on,
Beno.
but they know
Top
they
14
gotta
ou 15, je crois qu'il doit s'enlever.
They're playing
Shark
like
qui
they
vient
had
de
a
tomber.
fire underneath them after that initial elimination onto Vanya Takata. They're
Donc,
not
fallait
going to
qu'on
slow their
fasse.
roll anytime soon here. Felix now trying to see if he can buy himself just a moment's
il nous
notice
fait un mec.
longer. But Flixie, Vico,
Beno qui vient de tuer Darkies.
Vico especially being one of our
Nice.
seasoned
Récupérer l'équipe
fighters
sur
and
fight.
just great pincer there onto Felix. He's so focused on what's in front of him, can't
Les
really
gars, c'est
tab
que personne ne peut
Flixie
pas rattraper un
approaching
boutique.
from behind. Just a classic scenario for Veno's team.
Oh,
It's kind
Beno
of
il
looking
était
like
coupé
the
ça.
opposite of the previous
On a bien
matches
joué.
throughout the day, though. They, previously would have a very good off spawn, but then kind of fall apart in that mid-game section of the match. But now, bad off spawn into a solid mid-game. Hopefully they can do just as
dommage
good
d'exprimer.
in the late game. Thomas HD continuing, as you can see, to lead the lobby in damage, and I was hyping him up in the last match, but he's increased the gap even more. Now you see 4,679 damage. I mean, second place is Franek with 3,500. Thomas literally leading
Il est
over
4 il
1,000
reste encore 2 games
damage.
pour ce
And that is crucial for setting yourself up without having to risk
Pensez les gars, c'est qui va gagner FNCS ou
to get to
31?
that storm surge damage. These crouch peaks are looking
Shark qui vient de
insane,
tomber.
but they gotta do. I want them to see them have a solid end game performance. They're getting to these mid games with a good amount of damage, but as you can see, the health isn't looking amazing. They haven't gotten that big point match yet.
Très toxique qui prend un kill
Kind
sur
of missing
Codex.
that pop-off game.
Definitely a little bit stressed, and also definitely likely because of the team at Seaport City. Queasy, Swizzy, Murstache, and moving past that Titan wall essentially is going to prove a difficult feat for anyone, even some of our more experienced players. Thomas HD, though, just proving that the Mythic Drum Gun is anything but a cosmetic weapon in his hands. Certainly an impressive damage stat. No matter what.
Là, tu es mis sur qui pour les FNCS? Je pense qu'il va gagner les FNCS.
Mir stage, tout ça, je pense.
Briefly, but Murstache, Queasy, and Swizzy, this is just what they do best.
Toi?
Holding teams at bay here in
Moi, il y a
Seaport,
moyen que c'est eux qui gagnent.
refusing to allow anybody to have the kind of flow that they would naturally look for.
Taking a look at what Ferdoxy's been up to. It's being in Trulex's business. As picks Demus and Darm as well.
Pour les
Despite
faire,
that
c'est
kind
compliqué.
of
Hein.
shaky start due to Vico, Venom, and Flixie contesting them. They did get that elimination, but it probably took them longer to loot the rest of their spot and kind of continue with their
Scroll aussi peut faire quelque chose dans un.
off the start of the match, but looking pretty good for them so far.
It's bizarre to think, though, that Abahalo's team, last-minute surprise contesting, Vico, Veno, and Flixie's surprise contest onto Pump Power might have actually helped out Veno's trio because it prevented
Chap qui tombe.
Demus, Pix, and Darm to want to actually fully commit to the fight. And this is a trio that we know what kind of fighting power they have amongst them. It is not going to be an easy engagement by any means.
I love the rotate potential too from Demus, Pix, and Darm there. They can go the full-on congested side.
Attention, il est raide, mais pour l'instant, 300 sous la forme, moi, je me fous tuer,
So
sûrement.
many trios holding them, it is quite difficult. On the other hand, Hellfire and Strapped here are not in the best of
Ça faut
positions.
franchir en 300
I
sous la
mean,
forme.
we saw what Queasy was doing at Seaport. He tends to kind of let these trios rotate in front of them and just continue taking shots at them, which has helped with doing enough damage. But when you're below by 334, you're not
Il
even
y a
in
encore
zone.
quelques montées encore.
I mean, you can take the safer route, but you're going to be punished by doing so.
They are definitely in Fortnite
No,
competitive
don't.
poverty, and it happens. Maybe they can look to try and bounce back, but overcoming the amount of surge damage threshold that they've got to deal with as a duo
Gadget dans le moule là,
is
si
always
ça
going to be
c'est
monumental.
gigante.
mission.
Lara,
That's for sure. I drop Sky and Scroll.
laisse-moi là. Non, non,
On
t'es
the other
gars.
hand, 743 above. It's like a 180 sight to see. And they're just doing what
Aïe,
they
aïe, c'est un
can.
qui
They
tombe.
don't need to get involved just
Le
yet.
maker qui prend un
The
kill sur
shots being
L4.
fired around them. They might begin to put a little bit of pressure to the team behind them though, because they want to make sure that they're clearing out a route for when they do decide to rotate and leave. The zone pulling over by Demon's Dojo. I don't think anybody's brave enough to actually try and take the geyser.
Yeah, it's a risky move, all right.
Que là, non, tu savais pas, non?
Reason, the deal, kind of making their way
Oh,
in
les
zone
hommes qui
last
tombent.
minute, but when you got a
Oh,
whole
c'est
trio
la fin
just
pour le
looking back
tour.
at you,
Ça
no
baise
making
et
it
les
so
zones
far.
évadées.
Nebs, Pink, and Kiro, despite literally landing here, they are in the zone as well. Looks like they want to do an inside the zone rotate to where this zone has pulled. Kind of unfortunate for trios like Camiseti and Hari, who had a primed up position, as now the zone just pulling right back to pump power. But in the sense of kind of opening up vision, they have an incredible amount on these trios to have to rotate in. Looks like they're gonna take the earlier rotate though option instead of staying back.
Je sais pas si le temps on le voit.
They want to make sure that they're not going to become the lobby focus. You know just how rapidly even the best looking spots can fall apart whenever the whole lobby decides to look your way. Thomas, Panzer, and Uppel, though, saw them moments ago, kind of caught up with Demastorm and Pix. I believe they got at least one elimination, but they're trying to wrap around the lower side of this mountain face. They're trying to stay out of visuals for the team on height.
Une balle, sans tout
Down
l'instant.
the dirt has its own share of problems, as Swizzy, Mustache, Queasy are also trying to mastermind a way to take over the
Oh,
Moroccan
merci, c'est
position.
une dynamique qui va tomber.
Completely
Et là, il va prendre le focus des deux côtés.
not sure if that was a solid 3-2
Pour la
one,
double L.
but the double revive
Nickel, qui a passé.
back into the fold. It's just the fact that Queasy, Swizzy, Mustache, they're not as safe as they once believed.
Yeah, that's
Surtout les forces de la storm. Ils affichent un
in
peu.
these parts of the match where
Ça repasse
getting
au-dessus.
knocked just causes all eyes to go on to you. Good news is though, the zone hasn't pulled incredibly far from them. The bad news is it pulled to
Il y
the
a encore
side
Vélo, Nico et
where every
Kiwi.
single player basically is.
C'est pas le moment d'aller chercher ce point. Pour s'y prend qui sur des murs.
So much on that. Vico Venoflixi showing kind of the cons.
24 en dessous de la storm.
Early game being a bit below
Faut
here
toucher
as well.
3 en dessous, allez. 43.
Puis
Ensuite, sur
Ara,
le maker,
le
mais
Castigante.
permet de passer au-dessus de la storm.
With a little time to heal back up and look for that
Oh, ça lui met un coup de batte.
Pump power just
Oh
working against them
putain de
though.
merde.
Even if they were a little bit higher up than the rest of the
Et le
lobby.
Nico qui va aller engager le fight.
All these
XXX fait
natural
crack.
surfaces just cutting off their lines of sight. So they are pressed to try and find more damage.
Donc si tu vois ça,
J'ai écrit Ara, tu m'as
Because
gigante.
everybody's kind of just dogpiling inside the heart of Pump Power, and Veno, Flixie,
Camille qui récupère un kill, Maxime qui tombe.
want to get caught up in the congestion that's bound to start building
Et
behind
ils sont
them.
tous critiques avec la storm. Mais
Ones towards his next front side,
nice.
but they know
Je vais le remonter en dessous, ça passe sous, c'est au-dessus.
probably having to deal with eye drops, team.
Et on a suivi Quiz et Mursac sur ce height. Hein.
Mustache and Queasy,
Encore sur ce height. Hein.
only no time, but just underneath them, Malabuka.
Est-ce que Ours Madibuka vous faire quelque chose pour les faire drop ou pas?
Secondary height position.
Par contre, on n'a pas beaucoup de balles, on a 200 de bois.
You cannot let Malabuka Ping and Walks get another second place or first or even just
Ping
top
qui tombe,
3.
Trixer.
As it looks like Cammy has found a refresh.
Camille,
but
si
this
tu
trio
sais, je sais pas si tu peux
cannot
faire quelque chose pendant
be
cette
all
game.
only 15 above. Cammy fully cracked. Zone opposite side of the map. They do have those
Combat
water
qui tombe,
sprites to quickly
ça
heal
prend la
up,
storm
though.
du côté de Shari.
It's gonna be a tough
On
road.
se fait aggro en plus.
Ari has so many builds though, he could opt
Faut
for a
répondre,
play here
53
on
en dessous.
Panzer's team from behind. Instead, he's gonna pause. Only for a second though. They don't have that much time to work with. They've got to get out of the pressure zone of dealing with some of these surge ticks. Teams like Malabuka, Walks, Ping, who've done an excellent
prend les
job.
avions en zone, nice.
Their surge levels are full firing.
On va récupérer un kill, nice, c'est un HP.
Noms, Twy,
On va prendre le doublé, nice, ça prend le doublé. Et le triplé, bien joué. Bonne vision de Malibuka City qui tombe.
little bit further back of zone. Veno, Flixie just narrowly avoiding that focus coming out of Malibuca's team. But Sky and Scroll,
Sky Scroll
they're
encore
just
du
trying to see
clutch.
whether or not they can even maintain their footing in the first place. All these teams surrounding them, just trying to see whose floor they can chop out from underneath. Instead, from behind,
Dommage, j'avais pu répondre avec une balle de boum qui fait crack. 130 HP. C'est compliqué. Il arrive à grimper 80 de maths. 0 de maths. Trop de points qui arrive à survivre, mais il va tomber Sky. Trop d'essais qui est tombé. Nice, apprenti sur Sino.
Ikiara, Sino Gigante. Nanana, Ara.
Top 11. Est-ce que ça serait pas la bonne game? Oh, celui qui tombe. Ça serait pas la bonne game du côté de Veno qui dit. Et Vico. Oh, le côté reprend Fortnite. C'est pas assez dingue du côté de Northside, parce que c'est pas assez dommage. T'as pu voir. Vico qui va drop Fortnite. Qui récupère le kill. Et ça reprend Fortnite du côté de Veno. Ça va chercher cette win. Et avec ce top 1 ils vont repartir, en plus ça remonte. Et là c'est juste ça se fait à 3. Et ils vont tous mourir. Hein. Ah ça c'est la pire zone, ça quand t'es en bas. Koda qui tombe, Diso qui récupère un kill, ils ont juste à spam, hein, c'est win. Hein. Ah, ils vont tous tomber top 3, top 2. Et 3v3. XZ qui tombe, c'est pas pourquoi il est descendu. 2v2. Nice. Ça récupère ce top 1, bien joué. Ça va rebooter dans le classement. C'était une game comme ça pour les relancer.
Exactement. Ikiara, Sino Gigante.
T'es content pour Veno, Flixie et Vico, quoi.
T'as dit quoi?
T'es content pour eux ou pas?
Ouais.
100%. They were getting eliminations in their previous matches, but they were going down so early. 11th, 26th, 27th, and even this game almost going down off spawn. But somehow, Taco, they were able to not only recuperate their off spawn, recuperate their mid game, but also get those refreshes coming into this late game to give them enough fragging power, enough mats, enough loot to close out the whole match. They reached the
dernier jour. Il a repris après.
They've planted themselves back into the top 10 on that leader.
Là, tu termines quand les cours?
You gotta tell me what we just witnessed.
Ah.
Well, I think what we witnessed was Vico, Veno, and Flixie looking like lunch meat off spawn, and suddenly they made a meal of.
Moi, pendant un mois, j'aurais ça, genre, ça va être chaud pour faire la compétition.
Con. Pendant un mois?
Ouais.
Oh.
À partir du 12 mai au 7 juin, ça va être chaud.
Oh, ça va.
Il y a des duos, ouais. À part le week-end, sinon.
Jamais les fait. T'as le seum?
Moi, en vrai, non. Kingbox Mabuka 309. Oui. Stade deuxième 246. Scroll 211. Nico Veno qui remonte à top 4. Hein. Soit rien du top 2. Hein. Par contre, c'est pas du break, ils vont se voler. Hein. Quoi le bruit?
Really nicely played. They needed to be up on that high level, and what they did was just spray down so effectively well.
Yeah, no, they always temp zone or take height, sorry, in that timing there, right? So temp zone, 11th zone.
Un beau leader, je peux y aller. Ah, il est parti, c'est bon. C'est Tish quand même top 5, sur match des top 6. Chino top 7. Maniac Pixie Mage top 8. Top 12, du côté d'Arski, ça remonte un peu. Pick top 11. Vas-y, monsieur, ça va être très zone top 15. Je sais pas si la saison prochaine, ça va continuer à compéter. Je pense que c'est continue ou il arrête. Ouais. Il a dit comme quoi c'était peut-être sa dernière compète là, s'il c'était pas une bonne perf, comme quoi qu'il a arrêté. Je sais pas s'il va continuer ou quoi.
Wow.
Akira top 19.
Oh, bonne question, bonne.
They were very good at doing as well.
Well, we will have an updated leaderboard for you guys very shortly because we're going to go to a break, but we'll see you in a few.
Je vais juste finir la petite vidéo de 3 minutes, ça va attendre. Non, c'est bien cette petite vidéo.
100? Full beast? 200.
Mon criara.
Dead. 90 crack. 140. Right there.
Wesh, sacré balle. Hein.
So, oh my.
T'as dit quoi, Rouya?
Mal au pistolet.
Okay, get me. Can you get me? Can you get me? Can you get me? 40 wide. What the?
Down one.
Nice. 200. Ah,
With you, I'm with you.
good. Do you have any hearts?
Yeah, 200 metal, 200 wood.
Alright, can you give it to me, please? Give the medal.
Night.
Just watch the play they do. They might make a play. Did you hit them for like hard?
I got 3 shots. Yeah, I got the Lara Croft 180 with a shotgun,
Nice, bro. Shit.
Excuse-nous.
but they wouldn't bet it up.
Ouhou.
Yeah, it's fine though. That means they're just out of health.
Anything to get full damage, I still got 3 shocks.
I've got a grappler and shocks.
Yeah, nice.
I'm just trying to look. I'm trying to find them. I just can't find them.
I'm gonna be backside.
See one? Don't get chopped here. They're right there. They're right there. Well marked. 90?
Putain, machallah.
I'm chopping you out.
C'est quoi, tu regardes hein? C'est
Yeah.
bon.
Ah.
C'est quoi là, tu regardes?
Nice.
Nice.
Mais non, mais je suis en train de faire
Want
un
a shockwave?
truc.
Encore ton truc là.
Do I?
Mais mec.
30
Là.
wide, 30 wide, 30 wide, 30 wide, 30 wide, 30 wide. Nice.
Ah, tu sais, tout à l'heure il y avait le marteau en capté.
Dead. Oh, he's one. He's
Le
one.
marteau.
Legitimately one.
Ouais.
90.
I'm on 2. I'm on 2.
I got a chug and shocks on me. if you can.
Bizarre.
He's underneath the builds. He's underneath those builds. Nice. You
Oh, let's go! We're insane!
La madrina. Gaz de maladrina.
70?
La madrina.
Somebody crack?
La madrina.
70 crack?
Gaz de la
Léon,
madrina.
c'est Léon.
Dead! Oh my god!
Wesh.
Madrina.
60?
Madrina.
What the?
30.
La
Nice.
madrina.
The shocks in. Shocks in.
Cachito de la
No, watch out, watch out!
madrina.
Oh my god.
Moi je suis à la TP en wesh, j'étais descendu, je suis à la TP en wesh,
What
qu'est-ce
the
que
heck? Cracked one? Dead. 45, cracked, 1 HP, dead. Cracked, 1 HP. Oh my. 100, cracked, dead,
Not wide again.
dead, dead. 85 right on the teammate. Dead, dead, dead.
This team makes no sense.
Cracked, cracked, cracked.
This one. 25 wide.
Dead. With you,
The mats or anything. You get that?
dead. 70 crack,
On me.
cracked. It's 1v2 situation.
W grapple. W.
I'm stuck. Oh, I'm dead.
Is that metal on you?
Oui, il est mort.
No, wait.
Ça va prendre qui, là?
No! We take that, bro. We take that.
Cachito de la madrina. La madrina.
Où est-ce que ça a repris?
The trio on high.
Y'a un gars pour live ou pas là?
Ouais.
Mais non. Y'a qui? Y'a personne, regarde. Y'a Nightbot.
Si on est deux sur le live.
Les amis, bonjour à tous.
Ah, mais
et
j'ai
bienvenue
écrit
à
que tu
Tokyo.
parlais de
Vous savez, quand
ça,
je fais des recherches
Pierre.
pour tourner ce genre de vidéos, je passe souvent de nombreuses heures à scruter
J'espère
les
pas
moindres
de la merde.
recoins de Google Maps et je tombe parfois sur des restaurants qui n'ont pas
J'espère
ou
que
très
c'est
peu
pas
d'avis.
de la merde.
Souvent de nouveaux établissements ou bien des restaurants de quartier assez peu connus. Et je me demande toujours,
Allez.
est-ce que ça vaut le coup de s'aventurer dans ce genre d'adresse? Eh bien écoutez les amis, aujourd'hui c'est ce qu'on va aller découvrir parce que je vous emmène tester les restaurants avec 0 avis au Japon. Pour cette vidéo les amis, j'ai trouvé 4 restaurants qui n'avaient pas d'avis sur Google Maps à Tokyo et c'est extrêmement rare. Et d'ailleurs, je vais rajouter une règle.
Est-ce que ça a repris?
Cammy, Seti, and Harry as well because they are having a fantastic day one. I made a joke about them being a day two,
Moi je connais, c'est grave.
earlier, but
Ça va bien?
Ah, Grail.
Ouais.
very a stable place for the
Vas-y,
high
hein.
ground level.
Tu vas faire maintenant, toi?
Absolutely. And you know, I don't
T'as
wanna
dit
be
quoi?
that guy,
Tu vas faire maintenant?
when you do look at that
Non.
leaderboard and see where they lacking
Ouais, c'est pas prêt.
some of the teams above them, it's just
Même pas, hein. C'est...
Thomas and them are
Je vais acheter, moi, je vais
Ah,
commander.
tu vas commander. Prends des quoi, pizza?
But that is always going to be the point.
Ouais, je vois,
When
je
it
vois.
comes to this team, be consistent all you want. Can you frag like Malabuka's trip?
La
That's what
madrina.
it's going to take to win.
Coche de ladrina.
Be that guy, but we had a lot of north zones so far, right? I don't think we've actually had that south zone, so I'm intrigued as to how they're going to do. And even those teams like Malabuka's team who do land in the north, how are they going to do when we do get some south zones if we do either today or tomorrow? So that's a big question mark for me, but there's no doubt that this team can definitely perform well and be in that top 5 at the end of it all.
Well, we went into day one knowing that Queasy's trio were the ones to watch 11. Do you feel like they are still holding on to that position as the trio most likely to win, even if they're not number one right now?
Yeah, I'm still feeling really good about these guys. And I say that because they're second place. They obviously had a win today, which is a great performance. But like the rest of the games haven't been like these like standout performances where we're all like, oh my god, Queasy classic, go IGL. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like they've just been playing well. They've had some good moments. Mustache and Swizzy have come up with some good clutches at times. And so like for me, they still have another gear to go up, right? They still have a couple more gears to go up. And I think we'll see that towards either the back end of today, but definitely tomorrow.
Yeah, we didn't get to see exactly how that high ground fell for them. I think they might have tried to get a little bit too greedy with some of the refreshes in the storm, and ultimately some of the teams saw that. But a little bit of a misplay there. Looking at their material counts, you would expect them to stay up on high, particularly in that position. But yeah, as you correctly mentioned, they're a team that have already got a win. They're looking good. They're a team that can stay up in this sort of area of the leaderboard. Obviously not the ideal game for them in that last one, but if any team can pull anything out of the hat, it's going to be them.
Very quickly for everyone watching at home, if you're not aware, Vico, Veno, and Flixie and Malabuka, Ping and Box, they've already got their spots in the Fortnite Global Championship. So really, we're looking at the top 7 here. Thomas, Uppel, and Panzer. They're currently within it. I wouldn't say too comfortably yet, though, so far, 11. We were having a conversation about this. What do you think for them needs to change in order for them to secure a victory royale? I should say, we're having a conversation off air about this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can't be too comfortable on day one, right? Especially when it comes to the global spots. Those are so volatile at times. Fortunately, we ain't got 1.5x anymore, so a bit more stable come day 2. But these guys, again, it's just about cleaner end games, right? You know, they're making it to these end games, but can they actually deliver and actually, you know, sort of make them top 5s turn into top 2s?
Yeah, Uppel, I should say.
Madrina.
Who's that? Uppel secured 3rd place in that last game, so hopefully this is a sign of things to come, Mini Miner.
Yeah, hopefully for them. I mean, they're doing enough damage. I know Kinch in the back was telling us about all the damage that Thomas is getting with that mythic drum gun, doing exactly what he did in the groups, absolutely popping off. So their setup is looking really good. Their game plan leading up to these end games is also looking really strong. It's just whether they can perform in those high pressure situations.
Well, their pressure is piling up, guys. Only 2 more games left of day number 1 of the Major 2 Grand Final. So let's head back to now. This is Taco and Takata.
All I've gathered from that analyst desk segment is that Mini Miner is out here preying on the fall-offs of certain players and teams, Takata, but we are witnessing the come-ups instead.
We are witnessing greatness, and we don't have to wait long to continue with that because the next match is ready to go.
Madrina.
Game 5 of day 1 here in our Major 2 finals, and this is where things could start to get particularly dicey for some of our teams outside of that top 10 threshold of the leaderboard. Even knowing full well that you still have a day 2 to tackle if things don't necessarily go your way, Takata, so many of these teams are just looking to leave on a good note.
Yeah, I mean, like Levin was alluding to, there's no longer that 1.5x point multiplier, so it will be more stable than we've seen previously. But in terms of Vico, Veno, Flixie, they did an amazing job going from 14th to 4th in a single match. So, anything's possible with that big pop-off game. And in terms of Pink, Nebs, and Kiro, they are 11th right now going into this match. So all it could take is one good game, and it could put them in the top 5. But it's easier said than done.
If Pink had anything but the SMG there, that is a knock. That is a guaranteed knock to start the match off with. So aim looking crispy, that's for sure. Veno, Vico, and Flixie though, this is a new sightseeing for them. They're a little bit more directed towards that brutal boxcars terrain. Cammy, Seti, Hari, if they aren't aware, I'm almost certain that Vico, Veno, and Flixie are going to make their presence known sooner rather than later coming out of the base tunnel.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's not really any trios contesting each other around that side of the map, so are they just going to try and fight Cammy, Seti, or are they kind of, what's their game plan? We'll have to see, but Marius, Pixie, Vanya started off really strong, now kind of going down a little bit. 8th place on the leaderboard with their most recent match where they kind of got eliminated in 26th. So didn't rack up basically any points at all. Hopefully this time around they can make it at least to the late game.
But look at how tightly they're actually working together. Vanya probably still having some trust issues after what went down in the last match. So this team not looking to take any risk. Instead, they'll look to challenge. Turquise has a full trio. So that's Artie trying to fend for himself. He's gonna fully elect out of this one. Turquise and Felix off to the side. Gonna provide a little bit of backup, and they needed to because Artie has already been cracked. Medius proving exactly why he is such a dominant fragger in the region.
La madrina.
Okay, Savage, Reason, and Vidal are on contested now. They do have an elimination, so they're able to, at least get some shots here and there. But their major finals is set up a lot better now than how it was looking leading into the day. Despite that, though, they have quite a bit of work to do if they want to put themselves in the top 10. Look at this.
Ruh-roh.
Look at this.
This is menacing. This is such a menacing look for Vico, Flixie, and Veno. And Swizzy, he's so nonchalant about it too. He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go check this chest. I'm gonna go farm these mats. Flixie just barging down the door though. Swizzy completely trapped like a mouse in a cage. He's got nowhere left to run except into the waiting hands of Veno, Vico, and Flixie, but it's not without a fight. They'll at least get the knock onto Flixie, and that could open the avenue, but instead Mustache immediately pounced on. We thought he was going to be the big backup needed, but Vico has other plans in store. 2 eliminations immediately piling up here at Seaport City, and a massive blow to Queasy.
One quick shot was enough. They wanted to take that engagement quickly because they knew it was a 2v2, but got a little ahead of themselves. Don't know what's next for Queasy here, but for Cammy, they're getting in a fight against Cringe Kiduo. But Hari's left all alone now. They've got Volko eliminated, but the 2v1 is not an easy one to get out of.
Okay, this is so disastrous right now, though, for some of our leading teams on the leaderboard. Hari just looking to scurry away. Cringe, Kiduo, they might have other plans in store. Cringe starting to build up, trying to chase him out. He wants this final elimination if he can get it. He might even just opt to cut off the reboot ban. But Kiduo, even with the Mythic Pump, doesn't feel comfortable with fighting
C'est
Ari
là, Ron?
outright. Cringe, much healthier. He's gonna
Pourquoi
leave
du
it up to his
Morito, ça va
teammate
Morito?
to make sure that they can close up this fight and nearly a comeback moment.
Attends, t'as dit quoi?
Je pense pas du CV
T'as dit quoi?
Cringe and Kiruo
J'aime pas.
will be the survivors and just going to wait before playing for the reboot because Cringe recognizes immediately after the
Ah,
fact
c'est Calme,
Walks
c'est qu'il
and Ping
T'es
just too
5ème.
close in the vicinity. Cringe, he's just gonna he has to just play next to Kiruo though. The double reboot will at least be faster. I feel so bad though for Volko and what he's about to drop into.
Will he be able to make it out? The raps come through from Cringe, trying to do what he can to help his teammate, but didn't even look at him. He was already on the ground. He almost spawned on his knees, basically in the dirt. As Walks and Ping just continue to do damage here. They don't have Malabuka close by, so they're not going to take this fight, but hey, they got the knock. It would have been nice to get the points from the Elim, but you take what you can get.
No reason to be so greedy early on. It's the third party risk that is the primary reason why we see Malabuka, Walks, and Ping leaving after finding that initial knock onto Volko. They don't need to overextend. Queasy, meanwhile, sat underneath Shining Span. And this is tough scenes. Even a mastermind like Queasy is gonna have such a tough time working his way out of this one. Khabib, Akira, Kurama, they are fully aware of the fact that there was someone sat underneath their bridge. They don't want to let Queasy go. Opting to just continue chasing one direction from the next. Queasy still somehow, some way alive, despite everything. And maybe it's Akira's team that will get the elimination credit. Maybe it's the responsibility of someone elsewhere in the lobby now, because Queasy has finagled his way out of this one.
For how long, though? As I mean, so far there's nobody else here. A little bit of extra loot, but I mean, the good news is they are. I mean, it's kind of good and bad news. Good news in the sense that they did pull zone around Seaport. Bad news meaning that there's always going to be players around you now. So if you even want to get that reboot, eyes are going to be on you. And even be worth it to kind of go out of zone to look for it. But yeah, not fun.
Just going from bad to worse. As far as for game 5 here in Queasy's terms, Janice for Strokey and Focus probably pretty happy with that elimination they just picked up. They don't mind spending a little bit of extra time inside of the storm. So many of our teams today have opted to play this exact strategy out. The early storm tick damage not really being much of a threat, with so many heals kind of scattered across the map, and the opportunity. Again, you always have to keep your head on a swivel for those teams looking for the early reboots.
Yeah, I'm for Strokey, Yanis, and Focus here. I mean, they've already positioned themselves so deep in the zone. It's kind of just like a slower, safer route here. I drop Sky and Scroll up against Marius, Vanya, and Pixie now. They can look for the 3-2-1 here, but gets spot on, gets caught off guard. Is this gonna be a full commit? I think it is, Taco.
They don't really have much of a choice. I drop Sky and Scroll. Where they want to go next, they're gonna have to clear out this team, but I dropped in the process here. Pixie, Vanya, despite losing Medius, they're still holding their own. And Sky, Scroll, we've seen how well that pair can actually operate. And for good reason. Pixie and Vanya, they're just gonna elect to fall back. I'd rather make a play for the reboot van over by Whiffy Wharf. 3 is always going to be better than trying to make it out as a duo, especially this early on.
Taking a look at kind of how that ended up happening.
Dommage pour
Scrolls
Marc,
lining up a shot there,
dommage.
big pump. But for Swizzy and Merstash, they are back in the game once again. Queasy did choose to go outside of the storm despite being in to get that safe reboot at Kappa Kappa. And this is kind of where it begins, right? This is where the hard mode FNCS starts, as they have to find everything already at third zone. They need to get their loot, they need to get their tags, their mats, and they have such a limited amount of time. Sometimes you just have to kind of set yourself up for a refresh. How do you find that refresh? As maybe just farming and looting won't be enough.
But when you think about the other teams in the lobby, have to direct your focus towards Thomas, Panzer, and Upple, because they're not going to have to worry about Queasy, Swizzy, and Merstash holding things down inside of Seaport City. They're actually going to be the ones fully in control of the way that these southern position teams are actually making their way into the next zone. Could be a big part of the reason why we see Thomas HD holding things down, and that mythic drum gun, he's been packing quite a punch with it all day long. And when you are Queasy's team and you're stuck at Kappa Kappa and you have to find damage, surely Thomas knows it. He's more than happy to stick around. He can even spot out that there's still at least some form of a team in Seaport, but he's got his eyes targeted already towards that direction from Kappa Kappa. You have to anticipate that that's Queasy.
And you know, when he's got the drum gun in hand, this is just not where you want to be as Queasy's trio. As scuffed as they are, now forced. I mean, Thomas fans and Upple have so many heals, they can just sit there. Basically until Queasy and them get eliminated to Storm, so we'll see how that one plays out. It's going to be a slow one, I'm sure. Vico, Venom, and Flixie, though. Solid start.
And they're also not the only team close by to Seaport, but other teams don't seem to want to stick around. Can't blame them. Vico, Flixie, Veno, we're going to start heading towards the rooftops, also making use of the vending machines available inside of Seaport, but Fnatic might have gotten mixed up with Mr. Savage's team. Marius, Pixie, Vanya also still having to deal with Tripburn potentially, cranking their way up the hill face. So many of our leading teams just in these awkward positions across the map.
Yeah, I mean, some of them calculated, though. I mean, if I'm Vanya, Marius, Pixie here, I'm not focused on getting to zone super quickly. You've seen them time and time just kind of playing these Storm battles, and once again, what they kind of want to focus on is just not getting eliminated, right? After going down 26 in the last match. Just kind of want to take shots on the people rotating through, continue to see how these zones play out, continue to wrap around, and, you know, if they get enough damage,
Là, je suis en train de manger, je vous rappelle.
by just wrapping around the least congested side of the zone, around side the water on the left side here, but gotta be careful. The tags are coming through. I mean, Vanya almost getting cracked. Just a matter of time.
They also just don't want a repeat of what happened in Major 1. They were so close to having that global championship spot fully locked in.
De
And the
quoi?
lights were just too bright in the final hours. But
De quoi?
more slots opening up.
Non, je parle à un gars.
Major 2 finals. And
Ah,
that's
après tu as joué?
seen on the battle bus.
Ouais, à 21h.
Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, everyone
Bah,
is
pour ça finir, il reste 2
expecting
games.
them to live up to the hype this season
Celle-là et une autre.
and find that global championship wall.
Ouais, jusqu'à
They can
23,
put
voilà.
a lot of pressure indirectly, and yet, so far today, they have managed to deliver.
Championship.
J'ai envie de voir qui finit premier du Day 1, j'ai envie de voir.
Take home a major. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen Queasy win an FNCS, but you know, odds are in his favor this time around. I think it's been 2 chapters, literally. But they've made it into the zone despite being held by Thomas, Upple, and Panzer. But now, guess what? You got a whole other trio once again from the start of the game. Vico, Veno, Flixie. Got to be the ones taking shots onto them. They just cannot catch a break, but it's even honestly a miracle that they're still alive at this point. But being 263 below, I think literally their only option is going to be take this fight, and this is not going to be an easy one to win.
Look, this is Queasy's backyard, and they've got to try and duke their way out of it. They have to take this fight, though, Takata, because you're right, that 207 below damage threshold, 2-3 eliminations would be a big turnaround for this team, and Merstash trying to get the party started. Queasy though, he'll be the first to fall. Swizzy right after the fact. Too many optimal angles in favor of Vico's team, and they're just closing in onto Merstash. Nowhere left to run. A clean wipeout at Seaport City, which is going to set up Vico, Veno, and Flixie excellently for the remainder of this match. Probably more than happy. They knew exactly what they were getting by sticking around here at Seaport. They knew Queasy would be way too tempted to revisit his starting point.
It was difficult for Queasy though to come out on top, to be fair. All odds were against them. Now 2 of our top 5 trios are out of the match before we even get into the late here. Just opens up much more of an opportunity for the trios on the borderline to make something happen. Frank was talking about it on the desk. There's 5 global championship spots up for grabs, but we've already got 2 of the trios that qualified last major in that top 5, so it's basically top 7. And now's the kind of opportunity to push yourself into that top 7 with a lot of these top trios having gone down so early.
Celle-là et d'autres, après on peut qu'il va venir jouer.
It's a crazy rotate.
I like it though.
They've got so much damage above the threshold though. And by making this approach from that dead side of zone, Takata, they'll also be able to probably box up on some of these hills. Maybe even take advantage of any teams that might be looking to pay a visit towards Rift Island. Just steadily keeping their heads above water, that's for sure. Sky, eye drop, scroll though. Much different story at Pump Power. Decent amount of congestion now starting to pull from that western edge of zone. Sky, drop, and scroll though. They're just making sure to keep looking back. Ping Walks and Malabuka could be in a world of trouble here on this next rotate. They're getting a little bit sandwiched between Fincheck's team and Sky's. Zara also definitely wishing that they'd gotten a move on a little bit sooner, but it's tough when you gotta go cross country for some of these zones.
Hydro Central cannot afford another game where they go down early. They got 3rd and 4th in the first 2 matches, but 13th and 21st in the most recent. They cannot keep going down before making it to this late game, but Sky's going to be able to pick up some much needed tags. Look on over, and Marius and Vanya, they've lost Pixie, but in the close quarter combat, back and forth engagements, I mean, they get the damage they need, but Vanya has no shields. They're kind of split up here. Sangel knocking on the door, wanting some of the action. Now long rotate to go as well. This is not looking too bright for Vanya and Marius.
Just the worst kind of neighbors. People that you don't want boxed up next to you. People that are already boxed up above you. Misha trying to get some suppressive fire onto those lower layers, trying to get a little bit of extra damage if possible. Demus, Darm, and Pix though, they're already making sure to try and scale some of those mountain faces. Good deal, Reason and Mr. Savage, same mentality in mind, but they're just a step behind the rest of this lobby. They might become the focal point if they're not careful. Gonna opt to use, get that gold rush effect from their splashes. It's gonna be a big fight though for Vidil's team to clean up on. They recognize that it's Vanya largely leading the charge on this one, trying to get the final knockoff onto Peterbor, who's looking to escape, but Vanya, he just has to keep reloading. He doesn't have any ammunition, at least not for those initial shots. And he does finally get the elimination he was after from the start. It's just so much time expended, and the clock is ticking against him.
Marius got the siphon, but it wasn't enough. It's a long route back in for Eyedrop, Sky, and Scroll, though. It's looking like once again they get taken out. 20th. This is not where they can... They just cannot keep getting eliminated here if they want to hold their position. I mean, 3rd place now, probably bumped out. You only have 2 trios in the top 5 still up. And one of them, Vico, Veno, Flixie, literally clutched themselves back into it in the last match. This is going to be a big shakeup in terms of the leaderboard, depending on how this one plays out.
Did catch a glimpse, though, of Panzer, Uppel, and Thomas in a much separate corner. The rest of the zone, all those other teams that are going to start getting caught amongst each other. This could be the prime time to strike. Thomas has so many builds, decent amount of shield to work with. can almost expect that Panzer and Uppel are in very similar predicaments, and sure enough, kind of just looking for openings for Neck. Exposed for a moment, that's all they need. A couple of nice tags in. Shields have been cracked, but Uppel doing a great job at making sure that he either follows up with his team or looks down from a separate angle entirely, just to ensure that no one is challenging their current position. Still, at some point, they're going to have to deal with Chicho and Atris up and height.
Yeah, if the zone pulls towards them as well, that is going to be a perfect high ground for them to hold if this next zone is that half in, half out, where half the zone is in the zone, half is out. Vico Venoflixi, though, doing a great job. Continuing to take shots on the trios that have to kind of rotate up the mountain in a sense. So doing the damage, doing what you can, but now for these next 10 seconds, it's locking in. Wherever the zone pulls, you got to be ready to act quickly. As now, it's just a matter of time.
Toujours Kaizen qui contrôlait sur Ferrari.
Savage goes down.
Savage qui tombait, Raison va
Savage
dans
fans are
le
definitely depressed witnessing that one. But that's not to say that Badil and Reason couldn't make some magic happen here. Badil was hoping to get the shot, instead he had to go for the reload, 61 below. He's just so stressed for time. He'll at least be able to get one layer up, but he can't afford another tick of surge. And sure enough, shut down before he even really has a chance to begin. Reason will try and play out the last of the shutdown, trying to see if he can buy a little bit more placement spots, but it's just not enough.
À côté, il y a Kurama, il y a des terres, Kurama, ouais, ça sera.
Vico, Flixi, Veno, they're going to start working their way out from all these pre-existing builds, just breaking through whatever layers they have to. For Doxy, Thomas, both of these teams had elevated themselves prior to all of these blows taking place in those mid and lower layers, and it might be paying off tenfold, at least for Thomas's team.
Oh yeah, despite only being 16 above, they are in prime position to find more shots. You can see how many trios are staggered behind. The ones up above are capitalizing on that. Almost 1,000 damage. This is perfect for them, but they have to be ready to continue building forwards depending on where this zone goes. But so far, nobody seems to be contesting it.
Sometimes everything just clicks, but Noya definitely aware of the fact that you can never get too comfortable on height. Meanwhile, Thomas just spraying all the teams trying to approach from the backside of zone. And he's done a decent job at taking some chunks out of League's HP bar. Might have even caused some serious issues for that trio.
Vico qui prend un kill.
Can't stay fixated on the same spot for too long. You've got to get a move on when it is dealing with hoistering up on these elevated positions. And Noya nearly getting chopped in his demise there. Misha and Yasin now gonna look to play fallback, but the height control is what they're after. It's just dealing with the swarm of teams underneath them.
The zone just pulled too far. I don't think they have the mass to continue with that height control. So many trios can contest it now. Vico Venoflixi being one of them, but so far they're focused on getting that damage. They know they can eventually look for it, but they have their priorities straight. Shots coming through to the players down below, looking to see what they can find. Such a difficult zone. The hold on above, so Veno drops down. Big crack coming through. They have to regroup. Thomas HD up above still. Akira gets knocked down by Veno. His whole trio without shield, though. They have to regroup and build up that shield again.
Cringe, Volko, and Kiruo, they've been making attempts all day long to try and overtake height, and while every previous lobby before has just not worked out, and Volko tries to drop, instead he gets eliminated for it. Thomas, Uppel, Panzer, now dealing with the former leaders of height, but Thomas, he's getting absolutely pounced upon. Noya's team just dealing so much damage. Misha has fallen. Thomas will get the siphon, but he needs an opportunity.
Il prend un petit de suite, ça comme ça, nice. Il a deux bourdes.
Chug splashes, chug, everything needed to stay in the zone. Thomas should be able to make it back, but it looks like up above in the clouds, the high ground is looking secure. The issue is, once again, they cannot be stopped. Malabuka, Pig, and Walks, prime position ahead of zone on the low ground. All three players up. Incredible amount of materials, shields, loot, everything needed to continue to close this one out. But Pink, Nebs, and Kiro, they weren't in qualifying range for the Globals going into this match. They were outside of that top 10. This win could mean everything to them.
This is their conversion opportunity. Kiro, Nebs, Pink, they don't want to let it slip through their fingers. Vico, Venom, they're going to have to power through this though as a duo. Flexi, having been eliminated in all of the mayhem that's unfolding inside of these low ground layers. Veno, Vico, split for just a moment. Demus right above, but he's not going to go through the floor just yet. He's not going to look for that seize opportunity of another elimination. Fox, Ping, Malabuka, one of our only healthy looking trios in this lobby, and they might be able to extend that one pace further if they can get this elimination onto Cringe. He's building for his life. Surely his materials are running thin, but it doesn't matter because Malabuka, he's taking notice. Pablo Wingo gonna be collected in the crossfire here, and now Malabuka, Walks, Ping, they're just back up above, staring directly into Cringe.
Kiro, the only one up above now. Both of his teammates went down, as now he's forced to make that decision. How is he going to play this one out? One Chug in the inventory, but does he know there's a full trio down below looking healthier than ever? Chug gets picked up, Water Sprite in hand. Has he already begun the heal off as now the hunt? It's what's going to continue. Cringe down below, just one shot away, but Walks knows he has to take this position from the player up above. Chug being used. Malabuka's gone down. It's now a two-person game.
But there's still so much Chug left to work with, and Kudo, he's only a solo. He's getting chopped right now as we speak. Walks, Ping, have they got what it takes to find the first victory royale of the day for this trio? Cringe, scrambling as he may, he will finally be eliminated. And Kudo, all the way inside the storm, he's gonna make a leap of faith here, see if he can cause some disruption. But it's a 2 versus 1 Takata, and it's one that Ping and Walks are gonna win. Victory royale finally setting in here for Malabuka's team on the day.
It was only a matter of time. 2 second places, 4th place, now the victory royale. This trio is looking unstoppable. They always get to the late game, all 3 players up, healthy. Not only are they already qualified to the global championship, they want to do it again, Taco.
Yeah, Mini Hater as the biggest motivator, it would seem, for Ping, Walks, and Malabuka, but certainly a phenomenal performance, a great job. As the height was definitely a little bit messier than what they would have hoped for, but they did what they needed to, Takata. They were confidently securing these eliminations. We've seen them be a scrappy team throughout the course of today's matches, so it comes as no surprise that they were able to find their victory royale, and sure, it might be the first one, but they were already in the lead. This is just going to put that one step further for the rest of the lobby. So, Frankie, Levin, Mini, what have you got for us?
I mean, Mini Miner, what have you got for us? Was that good enough for you?
Well, it's not an ideal performance, I don't think. I mean, Malabuka there wasn't alive at the end, right? They weren't a full trio. Yeah, you know, you want to be having a full trio alive at the end. No, I'm joking, of course. Great performance from these guys, as always. It seems like they're just continuing to pile on these ideal performances one after another, and they just seem like an unstoppable force right now. The way that they're able to play these end games is so good. Even if they're not in the ideal position, we saw them in this game, not on height, the zone pulling over the hill. We've seen the story end in so many different ways, or so many the same way, so many different times where, yeah, it's the team on low ground just gets squeezed out, the team on height win it. But these guys are just able to tank that storm so well, get up on that hill and just do what they do best, which is find eliminations and then ultimately find that victory royale.
I mean, again, I said it when we talked about them last. I'll say it, we are witnessing an all-time FNCS performance right now. Their consistency to just make it to this final moving has been mental. Like, genuinely unbelievable levels. Soon as Game 6 wraps up, and a ward of VOD reviewers, I know, I'm sure Reese, my good friend Reese, he's going to be straight into the VODs. You know, he's going to pump out that video, how these guys are winning every single, you know, there's going to be something like that, because their performance has just been terrific.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been, yeah, no, go right ahead.
No, I mean, I was just going to reiterate it. I mean, just, yeah, the way they've been able to play has been absolutely excellent today. It just seems like they haven't really missed it. They did have a little, you know, that 7th place game, as I mentioned earlier, not ideal, but of course, you know, that is just, you know, being overshadowed by the ability of these guys in endgame, and just to find yet another great top 3. Are they going to be stopped? I mean, you know, the zones have played in their favor.
Grâce, j'ai envie que je me souvienne. Alors, non, c'est pas ça, Europe, tac. Ouais, ils ont 108 points d'avance sur Vélo, existe. Ça va être chaud de rattraper ça, s'il faut que des lates, vu comme ils sont bien partis, ça va être chaud. Swiss, il marche le 3ème. Merde. C'est quoi ma souris? 4ème dommage des Tino 5ème, iDrop 6ème, 215 points, Ping top 7. City top 8, Maniac top 9 qui sont descendus. Quoi, mais ils ont fait une bonne game en 138. Ils n'ont pas pu remonter encore. Alors, skill Poda top 19. Sharp top 22. Sharp top 24. Voilà. Voilà pour ce classement. Je vais regarder qui sont vidéo pour l'instant.
Had to watch content creators get the new Zadie skin.
Égarer un AirPod, c'est rageant, n'est-ce pas? Salut, c'est Kevin. Je suis resté.
Monsieur Dupont a une nouvelle voiture? Je l'ai acheté sur Auto.
T'as dit quoi?
Waouh, tellement de choix.
Et elles sont toutes inspectées.
Non,
t'as dit quoi?
Polo classique. Polo Prime.
Wow.
Je suis en train de regarder l'arène là, ça manque l'arène. Hein?
L'arène?
Ouais, l'arène, ouais.
Ça date.
Bah, ouais.
I was still saying crickets. Oh fuck no.
What the?
We're just gonna spend it all on food. That's like 3 days worth of food.
No way, man. Smashing him.
Are we king? Those guys are like so many kids on the last side.
Wait, just go to that side. I run.
He doesn't see you.
He doesn't know, he doesn't know.
Back on. I am down. God, what is he? What is he?
Yeah. That's 30 white on one. Dead.
Getting caught body.
Box. Going in.
So true.
Awesome. Awesome, bro.
No clue.
Yeah, he's never gonna not hear that. Or will he? Kick him out the house for that.
I wish you heard this kid's audio. He's blazing so hard, it's hilarious.
Back out after this.
Alright.
We need to get a new one.
Bro, boy, turn off facecam.
My lock, good. Bro, what is that noise, bro? Oh my.
160. He was dragging Larson.
Alright, chat. 500 gifted, boy.
Alright,
Turns on webcam. Turns on webcam.
Ew, I don't have the camera.
Go on your phone. Go on your phone. Wait, boy, you really showed me your keyboard last night.
Where's this thing at?
Full cage.
Oh, hello behind you guys.
What the fuck? Bro, one more.
Nice, idiot.
GG's, that's GG's.
Are you guys fucking stupid?
Pass it out.
GG's, bro. You guys suck.
I miss popping by.
He got dropped by Booga, bro. He knows it's over.
Oh yeah, wait, does Stretch still do those like early morning daily streams?
He does.
Wait, why did Koyo get dropped by Booga not even like after the first?
And what?
I like crop the bottom. I don't even just crop it.
Yeah, like you hold your
shift or something.
That's what it doesn't crop it. That like stretches it.
Left control then.
Like this guy just pistoling me in the back.
There is a way to do it though, I forget how.
Maybe it is control.
Chat, how?
Hello? Right here, in here. One on the other side.
He's running out.
Right here, on the window. Yeah, right there.
111.
Good, you got it.
C'est toujours con. Toujours pas.
Thank you, Frankie. Look, you said it yourself. It might not guarantee the win, but if you're able to get into that top 5, top 7, depending how it's playing out, get yourself a spot in the global championship. Pink and his trio currently in 7th place now, despite being 11th going into the last match. It's those moments, Taco, that kind of put you in and set you up. One game is left out to be played out today. We still have another 6 tomorrow, though, so don't worry. But the battle bus is ready, so let's get into the last match of the day.
And one of the primary differentiating factors, though, for our teams that are in 1st and 2nd of the leaderboard, Takata, is their elimination count. Malibuca and Veno's trio have just been on a tear all throughout these matches here today, and it's crazy when you really boil it all down, because a team like Veno's that hasn't even been as consistent as Malibuca's in terms of placement, and yet they are still matching each other so steadily with their elim count. It is making it very difficult for some other teams to try and play catch up or even just stay close in the first place. Outlaw Oasis is maybe going to get popping pretty soon there with Zihandy and Finchek. Vico trying to get the party started though. On to Twy, Alo looking directly at Flixie, but Vico pays the price. Veno now trying to get the turnaround. Veno with the left side peek though. It's not where he wanted to be, and they're gone from the lobby. Day 1 conclusion, and our 2nd place team is down and out for the count. Malibuca walks and ping, the ball is in your court.
This is what Levin was talking about. Vico, Veno, Flixie, they can get those 18 elim, those 11 elim endgames, even wins. But when they have that risky early game, when they can go down in 26th, 27th, and now the first trio to go down, basically, those 0-point matches, it's gonna make it too difficult to keep up with a trio like Ping, Malabuka, and Walks that literally their worst placement is 7th. And not only that, now looking at Marius and Vanya too with a quick 3-piece and Flooded being surprise conned. I don't know, Taco. This is gonna be interesting going into day 2. A lot of preparation is gonna be happening for Vico, Veno, and Flixie. They have to decide what their main goal is, right? Does Veno want to continue with what he said about going 4 for 4, all 3 majors and global champs? If that's the case, they gotta find a way to stop Malabuka, or do they just want to claim the best placement possible?
I'm just not over the fact that it's Avahalo, Noms, and Twy for back-to-back matches now that have been such a nuisance towards Veno's team. Everybody thought it was going to be Savage, Vidal, and Reason who would have to worry about that trio. Instead, it's seemingly Veno's issue to deal with. But looking into day 2, we've got to close up day 1. First and foremost is iDrop. He's got to provide a little bit of support here now for Scroll. Sky, iDrop, hoping to get the double revives. Andy barging through on the other side of the wall, but iDrop with a not-so-friendly shot. It's gonna force Zandy to back up a step or 2. And Zandy, he was hoping to get away. Could be looking to be knocked. iDrop can't find the final closing shots. Sky still on the chase though. He wants this pursuit of Zandy.
I'm sure he can find it too. Now, the shot comes through. Zandy goes down. He just looked at him, didn't even take a shot back. He's like, all right, I'll accept it.
I really thought he was more covered. It's just the way that Sky made that approach. I feel for Zandy in that kind of position.
Unfortunate. No, it's okay though. iDrop, Sky, and Scroll have been slowly dropping down. I mean, they were leading the pack with the 3rd and 4th place in the start of the day, but they haven't broken top 10 since then. 21st, 13th, 21st again. So hopefully they can kind of figure out this issue in the later part of the mid games. But so far it's looking like it's starting out quite strong. And you know, the good news is that Vico, Veno, and Flixie aren't here to catch Swizzy off guard like in the last match, so they can continue playing their kind of, you know, uncontested route here at Seaport. And hopefully I'd like to see Queasy get a big game here to kind of bridge that gap right now that's from 3rd to 2nd and 1st place. One big game from them would be enough to do so.
It's just such a bittersweet outcome though, because Veno's team caused so many issues. We'll continue that in a moment. Got to see what happens first with iDrop as he takes out Jew. Waiting whether or not Finchek has managed to actually escape the vicinity is a totally different conversation. It does appear as though he's made it out. Maybe he'll be able to go for the reboot and bring Jew and Zandy back into this one, but iDrop, Sky, Scroll, they seem adamant to try and chase out that solo.
Ivan not in the best situations here with, what, half HP, no shields. Kate, on the other hand, looking a bit healthier over at Kappa Kappa.
Oof. I mean, they need a bigger performance here at Takata and Cade. Just one shot too many. It's gonna be forced to disengage entirely. Cheatin' and Robin. They've got an ample amount of heals to work with. Trexer now continuing to just lay waste to some of those builds that we saw teams trying to hole up in. But southern segment of Kappa Kappa, one thing's for sure, Dexy's team is not going to be able to go anywhere near it. Ivan, Arya, and Kay, they're just also trying to be wary. Teams that are going for these distinct fights on the off spawn. And then you've got teams like Pablo, Ferdoxy, and Chino facing up and what's essentially become known as the Bermuda Triangle. That's what it feels like, Takata, because the surge bases that have taken place here, they literally just form a perfect triangle.
It's crazy how that works, yeah. As the shots continue to come through. They'll be peaceful for now, though. I mean, they're just gonna continue doing the damage that they're looking for. Malabuka in a similar situation. No worries, though, to kind of fight. You can see behind Walks, you saw all the loot they have stacked up. What's so interesting about Wox, though, is he has the most assists in the matches today at 44, and the player leading behind him is Malapuka with 30, and then Ping with 29. I mean, it just shows how well this trio has been playing together. They're always up, they're always helping each other, and they're literally the last trio standing in basically all these games, fighting it out in those final moments. So, you know, the consistency is deserved by how well this trio has been performing. But to get to that point, you know, you have to have solid early games, you have to have solid mid games, and they've done that every single match.
Hey, Malabuka did say 0 ping diff a while back. The moment that we knew that trio was headed to boot camp together in Germany. And when you're leading the lobby by 100 points and then some for day one, it definitely distinguishes, you know, just what kind of impact they've sort of had today as a team. That chemistry really starting to flow amongst them. Other teams, though, still looking to try and overtake at least each other on the leaderboard. Second place especially, potentially being up for grabs since Veno's team was eliminated so early on. And a team like Sky, Scroll, iDrop, they definitely want to be included in that conversation. But it's not going to be an easy mission just because you say it out loud. That doesn't exactly put the you know, the play.
Yeah, it's interesting though. They already have, you know, 3 eliminations. They don't need to risk too much more. They have, you know, the pros of having the heals too. This part of the map, especially the west side, with so many teams contesting each other, it's one of those clusters that ends up having a bunch of players just staying in the zone and playing out their mid game, taking shots at each other, and later on making the rotates when it's already closer and closer to that end game. But what a shot from Scroll. Close that one out.
Just being Storm Warriors, essentially. You can find those eliminations, but those late game transitions have proven to be a constant stopping point for that team. It's something that Marius, Vanya, and Pixie are also trying to make sure that they can overcome. Moneymaker, Fade of 9 here at Canyon Crossing. Seems like they're trying to hunt down Mr. Savage, but Mr. Savage instead, a little bit of a bite back here. Does seem as if the deal had already been claimed earlier on, but Savage just continuing to refuse to give up his current position. He's gonna force Moneymaker and Faded to try and tackle him at the same time, but still manages to just squeeze his way out. They have to worry about other teams in the distance though, and Fnatic maybe even hearing some of that commotion taking place. Moneymaker Faded. They want to get out of Canyon Crossing, but there are just so many teams in front of them looking to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's difficult for all the players here. Mr. Savage, I mean, they've gotten 3 eliminations or more in every match except for the first one, but they just can't make it into the top 10. They keep getting eliminated in this portion of the match. Normally they make it at least to the end game, but not the final moments. Just so difficult to even make it to zone with the way this season's being played out. Like, if you do want to continue with the rotate and you're done kind of with the storm back and forths, it can be difficult with the amount of trios that just kind of waiting for you to rotate on through. That's the thing about these finals lobbies. You know who you're competing against throughout all 12 matches. You know at least a general idea of where they're going to drop and how they tend to rotate. So you can really base the play style around not only how the matches play out throughout the day, but also how they've previously played out. Kind of stop these rotates, look in the feed, depending on who gets eliminated, who gets knocked. You can base your play style around that. Skavi though, look like they're gonna bring Teeny back in.
Hard-fought victory, finding the knock and then clean elimination onto Volko. Cringe didn't get to actually finish that elimination. So, well played to Teeny's trio to bring him back into the action, but just looking at where the zone is pulling towards Takata, this is full benefits for Malabuka, Ping, and Wox. They're kind of just waiting for these teams from that southwest section. As they trickle through, you know that they're going to be a little bit more beat up than some of these other teams that might have put base towards that northern position. And Hydra Scroll, they seem to be doing a lot of elimination clearing, but it's not necessarily putting themselves into a position where they can confidently try to just charge through that mid-map territory. They know that there are teams like Malabuka, Ping, and Wox just controlling too much of the flow of the lobby.
I mean, that's the pros of having that many heals, though, and you know, Storm only taking 1 damage per second here. They can make that decision to wrap all the way around despite it taking longer, and then not have to have the risk of, you know, the trios that are already based up kind of looking back. Malabuka, Ping, Wox at Floodgate. I mean, they're looking all right, but zone is pulling a bit more east than some of the previous matches.
This also isn't anything like what we saw throughout the group stages. When it came to that final lobby, we saw teams just kind of running through each other. They were just trying to start and finish fights as quickly as they could, and yet, because teams know there's still a whole 6 matches to work through in day 2. There's no point multiplier to deal with either. We don't want to cut ourselves short in day 1.
Ça va être la 2 ou la 3 fois qu'il m'a fait faire.
Still trying to be as calculated as ever.
Yeah, you're not like in the last match.
You're
just like trying to do what you can no matter what. All the extra aggression, it is still.
Pour un tueur des premiers, ce serait pas mal. Ah, il y a le potage.
Nice little rotate through Malabuka's build.
Travailler le potage.
They don't want to fully follow though, as they will be able to look back at them.
Ooh. I mean, you send shots forward and you're not in zone. It's only a matter of time before somebody else decides to shoot back, right? No, Riley just taking advantage of the situation. Podesai gave away his team's position, but Xweez getting straight to the punch here. Noah Riley has to immediately retreat to TrueLex's surge base, find a little safety net with the rest of his trio, but that leaves Malabuka, Ping, and Wox to just continue their rotation undisturbed, because now TrueLex's team, they're staring down at Podesai's.
Emi said Ihari, they got that VR, but it's kind of been a downward hill or slide from them since 12th to 32nd. Hopefully this time around they can figure something out. I like how kind of looted up, kitted up they are to play this one out. They're going to quickly choose to rotate. The zone didn't really pull towards them.
Even when you find a victory royale in a major finals, ooh, Seti definitely in some trouble. Saw his shields get cracked there. But it's difficult to retrace your steps and to consistently create those winning positions, especially when you're just at the mercy of the way that the zones are going to be pulling. And while a lot of them have played probably a little bit more towards Cammy, Seti, and Hari's hand, they're not the only team that's been in a similar position. Swizzy, Queasy, Murstache, they're trying to make up for lost time after an early exit, or at least it felt like an early exit in Game 5, because they never really had a chance to get their feet underneath them after Vena's initial play. But now they get to take their time. They get to dictate how they want their Game 6 to go.
And this is a great position to do so, right? You can see just how many trios are still in Seaport that have to make their way through, and you know, it could end up pulling far again, which would give them even a better shot at getting those tags. But look at the positioning. Vanya, Pixie, and Marius. I mean, there's a reason they're 1,800 above the Storm Surge threshold. Part of the factor might be that they have 4 eliminations already, but also
this guy's illegal somehow.
The whole lobby can't even be chopped down, really. So this is I mean, if they end up pulling zone here, 8th zone, that is going to be disgusting.
I see some. Not if you're a fan though of Vanya's team. Khabib, Karama, Akira, and nice elimination there for Werix though, but Twy as a solo all the way back, that's what Akira's team is waiting on. And Twy knows better than to try and actually charge straight through. He wants to at least try and play for a couple of eliminations and yeah, just to look back on what went wrong. Just a team lurking at the bird. Nothing's ever guaranteed in a finals lobby.
6th zone. If this was 7th zone, and I was Vanya here, just on the borderline, no building metal in. Could be the method here with that chance to pull back, but there's less odds for it to fully pull back to them being 6th, so didn't quite get the perfect RNG. Pink Nevs and Kiro though doing what they can to kind of minimize their risks, put themselves up in a good position here. Good odds for eventually pulling those later zones. Right beside Queasy though, kind of a bit of a risky place to be. But all their focus is now is getting those shots on the players that have to rotate in. Luckily enough as well for all the ones that were at Seaport, they don't have to move very far at all.
Pink's team is low-key kind of cut off Queasy's though. They're not going to be able to actually rotate in without having to deal with Pink's trio, I would imagine. And that could be a huge benefit for somebody like Malabuka, who's already taken notice of where Pink's team is based up and just applying some continuous tags, ping and walks, also trying to take up separate lines of sight. They're in a very nice position, and the congestion that's built up elsewhere, that's going to be something that Thomas, Uppel, and Panzer have to deal with.
Gonna show it now though. It's kind of just a matter of time. They're waiting to see in these 7 seconds where the zone is gonna end up. The good thing is to have ideas of, you know, if it goes here, I can do this. If it goes there, I can do this. Kind of always being prepared. Northwest is gonna be the place where it concludes right onto Akira's trio. Here they might even want to elevate themselves, right, to open up on the resort. Just take the fight straight on ahead of them. The pre-edits, anything to kind of do a bit of damage, but some sort of decision has to be made. Just 47 above is a little too close to comfort. Nice shots though. That's gonna be very impactful.
But it's shots being applied to teams that are already way out in front of them. So when they start to actually cruise on forward, those teams might have the same idea. Just pay them a couple of tag visits. Swizzy, Queasy, Murstache, they know they can't afford to sit around any longer. We're gonna immediately start trying to be some of the first ones into the next zone. Move too late, get caught up in the pack, move too soon, and everybody that still needs surge is going to immediately try and tail you in the process. For Doxy, Chino, and Pablo though, they managed to elevate themselves slightly and playing towards the front side with a little bit of hill advantage here. Sharks team a little bit pressured, but not enough for Doxy to want to commit to just yet.
711 damage above. I mean, they're in a pretty primed up position here, not only in damage but also elevation. Thomas looking good as well. I guess kind of a bit compact actually. I thought it was a bit more elevated. No risks needed for these trios. Unfortunately for the ones that have lost a teammate or are getting knocked or is low though, it's kind of just free pickings for the ones that are already set up looking back.
Because of the bridge, the congestion is really going to start to build in those mid and low ground layers. Incredible scenes that Twy as a solo is in such a prime spot though. Not sure how long he'll actually be able to maintain it. But definitely annoying to some of these other teams that are looking to just rotate through. Unscathed, Kiro, Nevs, one of our teams that could potentially be caught. A little bit more action than what they want. Just trying to get water sprite. You can tell there's a team in heavy trouble. They want to secure the body loop. Hicks, Darm, eliminate Demas actually. Eliminated right in front of them. Mixin, Blaha, and Comeback watch
Mais la vanille
They
ici
make
sur
such a strong
Fortnite.
attempt for those eliminations, and they don't even get a benefit from the results.
I like this, Taco. Vanya, Pixie, and Marius looking like they want to play a high ground position here. They're currently in 9th place. They've dropped down out of qualifying range for the Global Championship. Vico, Venom, Flixie are out, though, from the start of this game. It's a perfect opportunity to put themselves back in. I spoke about it earlier. This is a trio that knows how to convert those top placements to victory royales. They can close out these matches. So hopefully with a bit of good zone pulls, with some nice refreshes, they might be able to make something happen. But the big issue, the raid boss, Malabuka Ping and Walks, once again, incredibly healthy as a trio, completely set up to play this one out. Somebody has to stop them, Taco. Somebody has to do it.
Well, that somebody might be the zone pools, because it's bringing them into more traffic than what they'd been hoping for initially, sticking a little bit more towards those lower layers. But same could be said here for Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache, just completely spraying at the teams right next to them. Gotta be careful though. From the floor above, it's Twy still holding on, but only 187 above. Mustache, Swizzy, Queasy, they've claimed so much space in the low ground, but the way that the zone is starting to pull over the water now, teams are going to be burning through their materials at a rapid rate. Trulex, gotta be very careful here for Doxy, Pablo, Chino, trying to get a piece out of some of these teams that are rotating in. Nothing that's translated to a knock for an elimination just yet. Still, where they are currently sat at is a very nice spot to be.
Pablo did an amazing job of tarping ahead while Doxy and Chino were able to take some shots at the back line. Marius, Vanya, Pixie still looking like they have no issues up above. Not a single trio taking shots at them.
Oh my goodness. Wait, Queasy might just get stuck with Thomas, Panzer, and Upple. Marius doesn't care though. He's in the high ground, and he's trying to maintain that elevated position. Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache, they're gonna look to make an attempt here for a height take, but first they've got to make sure that they are putting themselves in a position to have to use up nearly all of their splashes. The last one finally going to be spent. Thomas, Upple, Panzer, we knew they were going to get caught in the mix here, but we didn't expect that it might come at Karama's expense. Nearly getting knocked by Thomas, but Thomas, he still wants more. He still wants to keep going. Pink, Kira, and Nebs as well. Just hanging out on the low ground, but Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache, trying to jump out height, and they might actually succeed. Vanya, though, gonna fall next towards the front side. Marius will get dropped, but still had more than enough time to react. He's not going to lose any HP for it.
Will Queasy give it up? They got the knock, but in the meantime, Malabuka's been shut down. This is the first time we've seen them go down so quickly in this late. Now, Chino, Pablo trying to clutch it up as a duo. High ground looks to be safe for Vanya, still holding on to it as now Pablo's trying to get ahead, doing what he can. So many materials to work with. He should not take any risks here, just try and claim as much space as possible. He has to be careful though, especially if he runs into a trio as Swizzy has been left alone. Queasy, Mustache gone down, as now Swizzy has to find a way to clutch this out only with
disaster has struck in the final hours here. Swizzy, we've seen him clutch points plenty of times in the past though. Whether or not he's able to secure them this go-round is an entirely different story though. Just so many healthy trios behind him, in front of him. Thomas, Upple, and Panzer. They don't allow him to go by, but it's going to be height that takes notice. Panzer will get the credit for the elimination, but Vanya and Marius, they are having a free day. Just spraying everyone. Thomas, hoping that he could try and charge through. Play a little bit of defense here for Upple to reunite with the rest of his team. Marius dropping. Marius trying to lift it. Gets a chunk out of Panzer's HP bar. Panzer won't be able to finish. Marius gets the credit for it. And now Pixie on the other end looking to take out Chino and Pablo Wingu.
This is exactly what they needed to put themselves into that top 5. All they need to do is close it out. Pink, Kiro down below, Pablo still in the zone, doing what he can to stay up. The double res is going to come through. Can they do it in time? No! Kiro goes down. Pink's left alone. Marius connects another one. 8 eliminations. eliminations. How many total has this trio
pas
just
du côté
picked
de
up?
Marius.
Not only do
Il
they
est
close
limite.
out the match, but they do it in style. From 9th place going into this match, I'm sure with that amount of eliminations, the placement points they just got, they have put themselves into qualifying range for the global championship. But not only that, also in prime position to slowly make their way up to that first place spot.
And don't get me wrong, you don't want to get too excited considering that it is just day one, but Marius, Vanya, and Pixie have earned this final closure of a Victory Royale here at Takata. They just played it cool, calm, and collected, picking off teams, picking off solos and duos, isolating players so perfectly, and Marius even at the end there refusing to allow that double revive play to happen, just had control of the low ground builds and punished Pink's trio for it. Excellently played all around by Vanya, Pixie, and Marius.
Yeah, you love to see it. Round of applause for Vanya.
Manibuka, ils doivent être hauts, ils doivent s'enlever. Ils fait un très bon day 1 Manibuka. 432. Ils mettent 120 points d'avance. Deuxième Vaniac, ça remonte. Tino, top 3 Tino qui remonte avec Réduction. Top 4 Squeezie. Dommage, t'es top 5 Vilico qui est top 6, il était deuxième. Hein. C'est dommage, ils sont mortaux. Charlie c'est top 8. Edward top 9. Akira, Courant Rexham top 12. Cringe top 13. Arski top 20. Shark top 19. Maker top 17. Voilà. Bah, je relance les gars à 21h pile. Pour ceux qui veulent bien jouer.
Tu pars?
Ah?
Tu pars?